Of course, back in the day on Summoning Insight, that old boomer, Monty, used to have this really biased sort of lens to look at League of Legends through. Because you know what? He just basically was a Korean dick sucker, wasn't he? Oh, as he called himself, Korean fellatio enthusiast. And what he used to do is he was so biased that if he was watching like the LCS, and then, you know, as the LCSs want to do, they would fight around the Baron for the key fight of the game. If they threw the team that was in control and didn't have to like fight the Baron, he could just bait it. And Monty would always just be like, terrible play. They don't understand macro Doa. Like they should have rotated and then drawn them into the different terrain to take the fight because the backline was exposed. And then what would happen is he'd go and watch the LCK. It was actually just called OGN Champions back then, wasn't it? And then he'd see there some amazing game between T1 and KT in the telecom war. And then KT would be ahead and then they'd go for the Baron and they'd fuck it up. And he'd be like, oh no, Doa, what's happened? Incredible outplay by T1. They understood the way to navigate the terrain. And KT, they tried their best, Doa. They had score, the immortal score. And basically what he would do is he was just so biased that even though for LCS he was saying it was shit, for LCK he was an elitist, wasn't he? So he pretended it was really good. Well, do you know what? I've been watching me, the random pleb, the Zoomer, as it were. I've been watching the LCK, and it's actually obvious that it's the other way around, isn't it? Because if you watch over in EMEA, EULCS it used to be called, LEC, actually in LEC it's very stratified, isn't it? You've got like the team that's the best at the moment, it's KC. They've got everything going from the draft, the players, the wins, they know how to control the objectives. You've got, you know, your G2s are still pretty strong there. You've got Navi's doing pretty well. You've got some teams that are in the mix, and actually you can, it makes sense who beats who. But if you go watch the LCK right now, the LCK is just a mess, isn't it? That entire Legends group, they're all just beating each other, all of them. Even D+, KT, you think Hannah Life's good, they're not. Gen G beats them. You think Gen G's actually good? It's only Chovy. They lose to fucking anyone. T1 wins, T1 loses. They're all over the place. It makes no sense whatsoever. So do you know what? Logically, it's the other way around. And even though the boomers were wrong when Monty said that before, because they had it the other way around, actually, the Zoomers have beaten Monty. So now that the LCK has gone to shit, do you know what that is? Monty's Zoomers revenge. By the way, back to the normal cameras. If you don't know, that was the most absurdly self-indulgent build-up for a joke about, like, look at what Monty Zuma's revenge is. Just about shitting yourself after eating some food, basically. And to get the joke, you not only had to have a very childish, immature level of reference of, like, you know, American movies from the 2000s or something, like, but like, dude, where's my car level? But you also had to simultaneously know everything about the history of this show and League of Legends. So in some way, you could say that's a very childish joke. But you know what? That's Summoning Insight. Welcome to Summoning Insight. Without Monty. But shout out to Monty when he sees this. There you go. That one's for you, mate.
Where do we go from there, Thorin?
Well, here's the thing. Actually, along those lines, let's start right there. If people don't know, we're recording this right after the Gen G versus Hanwha Life series. And bro, that's why I was thinking this way. I can't get a bead on the LCK, mate. It's so crazy right now. Like, if people don't know, the only angle I've even had success with is actually in the telecom war. I used that like stupid anti-logic of like, this group makes no sense and everyone beats everyone. So since KT had bonkers odds, even though the day before they'd lost in the fucking Kesper Cup to like KRX or something absurd, I still actually picked them to win, and they obviously won that one 2-0. So at the moment, I think the angle is this. We've got to start here, Yamato. Is the LCK actually good? Because at the moment, it's not an exaggeration. The LPL's the league where it's really stratified and the best teams beat each other no matter what. Now the LCK is the one where the whole Legends group, maybe they can't all beat each other, but they can all win and they can all get wins off, like, say, the other three, and then they lose to these two. And at the moment, I genuinely don't know when I watch it. Is this that they're all so good and competitive, or are they all flawed? Because I'll give you a quick example. If you saw this Gen G versus Hanwha Life game, mate, that game in itself is what I'm talking about. Like, on the one hand, Hanwha Life did look better in that game, but then again, Chovy was like unkillable, and then also both teams were like greeding all the time. I don't know, what's your sense? Is LKK good? Is it a mess? Where are we at with this?
Honestly, like, it's always, if anything, post MSI, we've had, you know, we've been able to like spot, you know, oh, the MSI team is the winner of MSI is doing weaker. I reference back to last year, for example. Gen G won MSI, and then we had the first time T1 beat them that year in the best of 3, right? After EWC and such. And that's the only lag that we were able to kind of track. But this year, I think that in terms of how the top 3 LCK teams have been built up, and on top of that, then KT and D+, I think the main thing is that we've seen very clear flaws in all the 3 teams. And I think that's what's so different about this one. I don't think it's necessarily a slump. I don't think it's like a phase, because the issues that are plaguing Gen.G, HLE, and T1, we can define them so easily, because now we have a whole year's of just footage. We have so much volume on what their flaws and problems are. HLE, to simply define it, would be that in terms of how meta-proof they are, the moment the meta kind of shifts, everything kind of moves one step, and then suddenly everything is out of place because of how delicate their players are. We know Kanavi, we know Delay, like they look completely out of sorts now. That could be partially some MSI fatigue to some degree in comparison to KT and D+. But we follow that up with, of course, T1, their issues in terms of how their solo lanes play, with the shift of the game in terms of being less of a lane swap-centric game in the early game, even though it's slowly coming back. We can see the flaws of their solo lanes and how bot lane oriented this team is. And on top of that, of course, Owner simply just isn't performing this year. We followed that up with, of course, Gen.G. And ever since that big wake-up call at first stand, after they were dominating, when the meta in the LCK locally in winter was, of course, very duo bot lane oriented, and then jungle plays in isolation. Everyone kind of played their own game. Everyone's kind of following Gen.G. But then the big wake-up call was that BLG had just figured out how to play the meta in terms of how to connect with jungle and support. Because before anybody else did the whole support roaming thing, by far On was the first guy to do it. We saw him doing shit on Anivia that nobody else was doing. It's like, it looked freaky when we saw it the first time, but now it's just standard play. So Gen.G had to play catch up on a style that they kind of always pushed themselves away from. They always played a very individual game that gained information, that gave space to everybody else, but they never went through the steps of connecting with jungle and support and actually contesting through mid. Because even Gen.G at their best, when they did actually lose against KT, it was because, plain and simple, Cuz, and of course at the time, I'm trying to remember who the support was, they were very, very good at just playing the jungle support duo around BDD. That happened at Worlds, that happened also in the series that they lost in the LCK, and then of course Gen.G came back and attacked them. And that to me is the biggest difference. Is in the past we've seen KT and D+ actually beat these guys, but we never cared because we understood the levels and the kind of tiering of what is this noise that I'm hearing? What the hell?
What was that? It was on the all sound, by the way. I'm pretty sure light. Come on, bro.
Jesus Christ.
Just take the screenshot for the moment, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. What was that, bro?
Mute it. I'll just mute the screen. I'll mute the screen share. I know, it's all good. It's all good.
I muted it. Damn, I got freaked out. Nevertheless, like KT and D+, I feel like their wins are more honest than they've ever been due to it. We have a circumstance where every team is flawed in their own way, and the exposure to it is nothing new. I don't think it's underperformance. I feel like we have enough volume now to see that there is not a clear front runner. Kind of similar to what we had in the LPL in the past. If we removed BLG from the equation, because that's technically what we can do, right? We've removed the powerful Gen.G from the equation. And LPL was always like, if the meta hits just right for this team, suddenly they will be going to Worlds. We always had like a block of 6 teams where we had no idea how the lineups are going to be in top 3. And I feel like that's the case now for the LCK. Teams are flawed and they have issues. And at the same time, I do think that KT and D+ have good enough mechanical players to actually do some damage on a right day, because it just seems like they're also well coached around the central game idea about how you need to drive the game with jungle and support. So that to me just defines LCK now as a whole, where there's certain metas where each team can be their best, and I can easily paint the picture for when T1 could be the best, when Gen.G could be the best, and of course when HLE could be the best.
No, I'm with it, because I actually, even though I've made it like, which is it? I actually think it's like a bit of both, isn't it? Really, as you say, the main problem is this. you've just got rid of the dominant team. And once you don't have the one super dominant team, well, also the other thing I think people miss, I've noticed this all of this year in LCK. We're doing the Legends group, mate. Go beyond that. Remember, outside of the Legends group, you get to the likes of like Nongshim, FearX, Brion, bro, even KRX, the former DRX team, wins games now. Like, it is no, even fucking DN Supers won the other day, for fuck's sake, bro. Like, if you ever look at LCK now, I actually think this will sound mad. It almost took 10 years to recover from the Korean exodus. Because if you ever look now, the bottom of LCK isn't just random names you've never heard of. Bro, the bottom teams in the bottom group, you know almost every single player there. They all used to play in T1 and Gen G and all the KT and all it. And so as a result, if you ever go, like, you know, when people for years have tried that thing to make like Brion, like Brion's just crazy. Mate, they're actually just real pros now. Those are like top players years ago. Those aren't just randoms like, lol, I'm sending it. Like, actually, those are like actually half decent rosters. And in fact, as I say, you actually now have to like respect Brion, mate. They can beat teams now. That's not just some meme anymore. Like, they actually have like half decent games themselves most of the time. So no, I'm with you. Like, let's just go through some of the top teams, and because I actually agree with you. I made the joke in the opening, obviously. Actually, this is what the LPL used to get donked on for. If you ever did, this is why if BLG, by the way, saw out the top lane, we can actually do the final inversion that took 10 years to happen, which is this. No, the best team in the world plays in the LPL, but the LPL's not as deep. And the LCK doesn't have the best team, but it's super competitive at the top. That's inversion. Those are the opposite. So, you know, back in the day when we would always tell people for the last 4 years, like, the LPL's super insane, because they didn't have the best team in the world, except for JDG that one time. People would always be like, no, it's just bullshit. Look, they're never going to win at Worlds. It's like, no, we're talking about average level, though. We're talking about like how competitive it is. And this is why, by the way, I'll set it up for you right now. Who the fuck knows right now? I don't think anyone could tell you if Faker's going to qualify to Worlds, because right now it is so insane that it just depends what day you hold the match on, mate. If you hold the match on the wrong day, he could not make it Worlds and be in 5th place. If you hold the match on the right day, he might make it in 1st place. That's sort of the match win his first LCK in like 4 years or something mental. That's how crazy LCK is right now. So I have to say, if you want to, I always like to give people warning. If you think I would have been intolerable if Rookie had beaten Faker in that World's play and knocked him out and made him not go to top 4, I'll be even worse if Faker doesn't play, because I'll go, wait a minute, guys. You all told me if Rookie doesn't make it, he fucking... Like, I'll just do that, mate. I'll just do that whole angle, because this is why, if people don't know, LPL regionals used to be an absolute nightmare. It was just a minefield again. If your top laner ints that day, or your ADC, or someone fucks it on a dragon, you don't go to Worlds, even though the whole year you've been like a 3rd best team in the world or something like absurd like that, you know. So, because at the start of this series was a perfect example for me of how actually you can't really pick the number 1 team, because if Gen G just beat HLE, they should be in the contention. We've all been saying it since MSI and EWC even, like, hey, maybe they are still secretly the best team. Maybe they just fucked up the road to MSI. It was only that series against T1, remember, because it was that weird format where they didn't get the second chance. They started in the gauntlet low bracket and they just played T1, and T1 beat them handedly. But okay, here's my problem. Even when I look at that game 3 that we just saw against HLE, I can't really look at it and go, yeah, Gen G's clearly the best team, because, bro, there was a million moments there where I actually looked at they were going to lose the game. Think about when HLE had the Elder, bro. That was looked at the game's over. By the way, there's something I didn't even know and have never seen in my life before. Yeah, it turns out, if you have the Elder, that can actually fuck you up when you're playing against the Renata, which is like, what? That mate, there's not a lot of things we haven't seen at this point in league, is it? But that was crazy, because essentially you got punished for actually doing the dive that should have won you the game. Also, actually, as that series showed, it is one thing that's crazy about Gen G is if you are actually a hater of Chovy, this ain't the time to be piping up, mate. He is hard carrying these games so hard. They are so reliant on him despite the names. But in game 3, this is also why you can never look past teams with great players, mate. That might be the best game Ruler has played in like 3 months or something insane. He actually was fucking kiting and moving around and killing people. Then I also just think of like, I mean, even the Duro angle, he looked fucking fire. True, it was the champion pick that ended up being the essential thing. Because actually, there's another weird thing, mate. Wasn't that entire fight, all the fights, just about the Renata? Like, it basically didn't matter what you did in the fight. The Renata bailout was the bailout.
Yeah, it was, you know, Chovy, I don't know. Especially in this game, like, I was saying it while I was co-streaming it, I was like, if I just remove the nameplates, it would be impossible for me to guess who's playing here. You know, like, it would be so difficult to know, because both teams look quite unrecognizable based on nameplates alone. It's like some of the mistakes that we see from Delight, even what we saw from Kanavi in game 2 when they were winning was absurd. We had moments where Some of the decisions from Canyon just look strange. There was like an invade that he did, and it's like just mind blowing. Or after the fight is over, how they chase after the Mundo and just give him double kill for whatever reason, which was very strange. So many decisions that were flawed. But then you had basically like Chovy and Zeus. They were doing like a moonwalk through the zombie apocalypse. Like they were just. They're like it was playing so damn well. I don't know how.
Zeus was unkillable too, wasn't he? Yeah.
It's like both of them. Luckily, it's like there was the slight differences in the level of play from the teammates was just plain and simple, like the difference maker in the end. Because on the day's form, like what we saw from Delight was ridiculous. But knowing how the fights played out, Chovy, especially playing Syndra, because Syndra was like the one champion that was never a part of his list.
Yeah.
And then you see like he was doing. He was playing super well. It was very clear. Like he got that night inspiration there, dropped the Magi's as well. You know, it was very cold. Never died, and always just. He definitely showcased what Chovy Bell can do, because there was not a single Leona ult that like clipped him. There was one, but then Mikos was ready on the dive under the tower because the hitbox looked kind of strange, but he was very sharp on the Protobell. It was good to see. It's just. As the community has said and mentioned a couple of times, it's like this is like the essence of HLE Chovy. He looks around himself and just sees his teammates are not reliable, and it's like, all right, well, I guess I just got to do it. And I love to see that. Because, and I'm happy that all the old memes have died down, but I hated the discourse around Chovy there for the longest time, when people just say he just farms, when you could see like a clear evolution in his play. And now Chovy has reached a point where he's just so complete as a player. It's very, very hard to find things to criticize him for. And when he has an actual bad game, it's so jarring. It's like, what the hell? It's like the world stops. But for everybody else, it's like, oh, it's just a bad game, no problem. Because we're just so used to such a standard when it comes to Chovy.
There's even an angle that is crazy, because even though, let's be real, in sports, I know like if you have a star player, they can certainly like skew the game. At the same time, in team sports, if your team is bad enough, by the way, you just can't always win the game, can you? It doesn't matter how good you are. I mean, I think surely BDD last year showed that to everyone. You could argue he was like the second best mid laner in the whole fucking world, but it didn't matter. Like if KT was bad, KT was bad. If they were good, they were good. That was usually due to things like Perfect or Cars or that even Docked Out at Worlds, mate. Almost everyone had to have their time, right? There is a stat that maybe we can even show on screen or maybe in the VOD that is unbelievable, that was from the stream, which is that Chovy, coming into this match, because remember, they lost twice. They lost to T1, 2-0, by the way, and then they got 2-0 by D+. This is why DK, basically. So this is why I say you can't even say who's the best, because they just won this game, but that doesn't make them the best team, actually. What's crazy is that was literally the 2-loss streak, was his first 2-loss streak in games since joining Gen G, and that was 1,823 days ago. That is, and if they'd have actually lost that game, that would have been his third loss streak in 2,500. He didn't lose the game though. Like, mate, I know it can't just be Chovy, although it is a lot in some of these games. That is impossible. Like that streak, look, it's not as cool as winning 3 worlds in a row. I'll give you that, obviously. But I tell you what, it is a pretty unbelievable streak. And not least because actually, I'll tie into what you're saying. If this was Chovy back when it was DRX HLE Chovy, you know what? He was a selfish player back then. I think it was famously LS who even said that in DRX he heard something like Chovy doesn't even come. He just plays like it's solo queue and you just have to like read his mind if you like pure shit, because what he's going to fucking do, which is outrageous. But in the modern day, it was actually implied like 2 years ago, he like basically once they moved on from Peanut, that he actually, and Lehens, that he became like the shot caller even. And actually, if you look at his game now, mate, it's so obvious he does interact with teammates. First of all, he's still unbelievable with his hands. He's got the peak level League of Legends. But I agree with you, the way like he plays around his team and the objectives, he has mastered League of Legends. He is fucking unbelievable. That is impossible though, bro. Like, that's why I say, I don't necessarily know that Gen G is the best, but I'll tell you what, Chovy is fucking still, like, he's still a contender for best player in the world, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think always you're going to be a bit of a victim of your circumstance, and I do think that there is, an unexplainable uniqueness to BDD. Like we just have to accept that it has to be like his leadership abilities that are he makes everyone around them better somehow. But Chovy, in terms of just the game, and now with the games that they are going through, to always be so damn effective. It's like the last little little diamond on the glove. You know, he has all the stones now. There is nothing to take away from him. And an interesting conversation, right? Which probably is one that is easy to settle. It's like, if we just isolate the 2020s and beyond, like, is there anybody that touches Chovy in terms of how well he has played over the last 6 years? I honestly don't think so.
Isn't the real problem with that one? I think that's where Knight gets fucked by the LPL, because I would say the only one seems like Knight, because the baseline levels there year after year. But his problem is we just don't give you the same credit. I'm sorry, if you're beating, you know, Yagao and Scout and Zhao, they're cool, those are cool players, but it ain't the same necessarily as like Faker, Zeka, BDD, Showmaker. I do think the names sound better, especially for mid lane in the LCK. So I'm with you. I actually agree. It's why I was thinking about this the other day. Since everyone's playing and sort of freelancing in League Classic and remembering how crazy League was and how bizarre the Baron was and what it was like when certain champions were OP as fuck, because there are some that are like outrageous in that game. You forget how well balanced the game is now in comparison with all the million champions. It makes me think that is one thing, if I could go back in time, I wish Riot had done differently. I wish we could go back to, and I think the year would be like 2017 or something, 2018. I think that's the year where, in an ideal world, it would have just been League of Legends 2. You know what I mean? There would have been League 1, that would have been like 2009 to like 2017 or 2018 or something. And then we would have made League 2, which would just be like this, but more updated. And then if you think about it, right, a lot of the things that changed and made the game, right, that's what we call modern League, basically. I also think it'd be neat, because think about the conversation you just have. Easy for the first one, mate. Faker's clearly the best player ever in that one. 2009 to 2018, 2017. But if you then did 2018 to 2026, listen, Faker has the most championships and all that jazz, but wouldn't Chovy be the GOAT? I mean, think about just LCK titles alone, mate. No one would be near him. MVPs again, it'd be. I actually think he'd have that status of like he was the best who just didn't win worlds. He was the king without the crown. Because I'm with you, the baseline level is impossible. Because even I doubted him actually earlier this year, mate. I thought to myself, wait a minute. This is one thing I realized at Worlds last year. It's like, you know what? I've made a lot of excuses for Chovy because sometimes he didn't play bad. But at the same time, when I looked at the roster in 2025, I'm like, mate, I don't think anyone's had as cracked out a roster as that. That is impossible. You have got all the hot. Again, if I was asking like for a genie, give me players. Those are all the players you'd ask for, mate. Those are the best. Those are the other goats in there. People are having conversations. Is King the best top player? Is Canyon the greatest jungler? Is fucking Ruler the best idiot? These are real convos we've all had, and at different times, people have said yes to those questions. So I remember thinking, do we overrate him? Does he just have the best team nowadays? Mate, this year it's just probably still unbelievably cracked. He's just impossibly good. Should we go and move on to another team? Because I feel like let's just run through all the big teams. Mate, this is what's nuts. If there was ever an example of how the past year's narratives don't apply to this year, it's got to be this D+ run. Because you know what? Since they weren't even close to remember, they were the team that fucked up the first round of the Road to MSI and lost that series to KT, where everyone was flaming the shit out of CV Max because they just couldn't win a late game. Then, because they're just not even relevant at MSI, we're all like, oh, I guess HLE's the best team. It's just confirmed, isn't it? And T1, they're on this. But, mate, after that run at EWC, where it was really, really close against all the big teams, that's easy normally to just go, that's the fluke, isn't it? That's like the flash in the pan where everyone else is burned out, or no one cares. Maybe no one cares about EWC. Maybe some people have to travel after 3 days. D+, it's continued actually, Yamato. They're actually fucking racking these wins up, mate. Like, what do you think of the D+ angle? Because that's what's really making this group sexy, is suddenly that like KT and D+ are relevant. So all of a sudden, I actually have to ask the question, despite the roster and despite the CV Max baggage that hangs around, mate, there's a world where D+ can go to Worlds, right?
Oh, 100%. But I think from the point of EWC till now, I think that they have done everything they can, which is, of course, they played 2 series, which were quite good and in their control. I didn't feel like they were the weaker team. And as a follow-up, the EWC run it becomes so much more legitimate if this is the follow-up. I think the main thing for D+, right, is like...
It even helps that KC's kind of good in LEC, in my opinion. It makes the run look real, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's like you couldn't have asked for tougher opponents as well. They beat BOG, Genji, and then in the finals as well. From D+, it's like, I think it was always frustrating to watch them, right? Because, you know, the story was always they threw games. It was always some strange silliness at later parts of the game. But that also meant what was frustrating was that everything that is considered difficult was in place. When it came to the bot lane phase, the mechanics were clearly there. Shiwu always, it's like in terms of laning, he would always keep up with the best. And now it's like, when he played against Zeus, looked really, really good.
Yes.
It's like they had the
off the
players.
back of smashing bin at fucking EWC2. This guy's cooking.
100%. And the talent was clearly there, and it was just one of those things where you expect it to fall into place, but just because they were always hovering in that pocket of almost good, you kind of lose faith that they would go over that hump, similar to like an MCoy, where it's like, maybe this time they will fix their late game. It's like, nah, bro, we've seen this 2 years already. Like, all the good things, they don't count as much. And I feel like D Plus was in that zone too. But now in terms of everything falling into place, I do think that the two main things to me that really stand out as the big differences, because in terms of like the improvement in terms of their floor, is just I think Showmaker's level. Number one, Showmaker now makes the game about himself in a way that he didn't do even at his best, and maybe to his own detriment, where he was always the one who would sacrifice to make sure he's there on beat, to make sure that Canyon's vision would be enabled. And of course, this worked super well the first time around. They won the World Championship with the Graves meta and so forth. But somewhere along the line, other mid laners around them, especially like a player like Chovy, made the game about themselves and would always, pull people towards them and make people come to them. And maybe along the line there was also like moments where Showmaker wasn't in best form, and maybe he tried to do the whole roaming style and play for his team style to kind of compensate for it. But then to see, I remember that interview when CV Max joined the team, where Showmaker said CV Max joined the team and he said that you are the most important player on the team. You need to farm. Fuck everybody else. You're the most number one priority. He said that on day one to Showmaker. And I feel like we finally see the fruits of that labor, because in terms of how Showmaker plays a selfish game, means also that he leads through his own game, because a lot of these games, like when he played against Genji, he's 30 CS ahead of Chovy. He's making sure that he's farming. He's making sure that he's not getting pulled into any fight that he doesn't want to take. If his teammates want to take a fight, he doesn't care. He just keeps farming, keeps making the game about himself. And I feel like that always makes sure that in the in-between, if like CU wants to do a crazy play, there's always someone that gains something. And if there's something that Lucid wants to angle for, the high risk, high reward, they lessen the risk by making sure that there is people actively always trying to take something on the map, which I think is something, as I describe it, this is something that Genji always did so well, where they played on 3 lanes, and if there was an active play from the enemy team, there was always somebody else to gain something. And I think the D+ do that better. And on top of that, with all of this being said, I do think that Career has just found himself. Like in terms of the support.
By the way, I know it's tricky. I've always told people this. It's a nightmare that the country is called Korea, the T1 support is called Carrier, and then we're talking about the support player of D+ is called Carrier. So listen, I get it. That's going to be a nightmare. He's also support. We're just going to do what we can with it. He's called Carrier, and that is his name. And the Korea is what they're all having. By the way, as a quick aside, I think I've told this story before. I once did an interview with the legendary StarCraft player. I think it was like a fucking StarCraft 2 one. It might have been like MC or something. And I asked through a Korean translator that was scoffed, and I kept saying the word Korea, and they thought I was just saying the country Korea, and they just gave me the shittest answers ever. And I kept thinking, these answers are fucking whack. Like, I'd be like, how have you won so much in Korea, in your career? And then he would be going like, well, it's where I'm comfortable, and it's where I want to be. So anyway, I'm with you. So go on, give me some thought, because you're right. This player is the least famous one of the whole roster. We know all the other guys. Some of them are D+ mainstays. Obviously, we know Smash from T1, but the Korea guy, the support guy, he's kind of like a revolution. He's got, put it this way, this is why, to do the conversation we had about BDD into Chovy, you need to be mega as a mid laner to give the other players a chance to come online, right? Because actually, this is where you might not like CV Max, but I tell you what, the whole team's cooking now, right?
Yeah, I like the main thing that I wanted to hammer home with Career is that in the current form, like if I want to make a current form tier list for the supports, yes, I think Career just wins, which is crazy to say. Absolutely crazy to say, but it's currently the truth. It's like Career.
Okay, let's run down the list. The T1 Carrier has had some nightmare series. Bro, if you just watch this last series, Delight is doing some illegal shit, bro. Like, there's some really bad games there. Look, Duro's all right, but I don't know. I'm with you.
Today was like Duro's best day in a long time.
Yes. If you want to do a power ranking, wouldn't this guy be near the top?
Yeah, I think that to me is what just raises the floor of the team. I think that when you have players that drop some spice, you need to have some people that also stabilize you. That's why I always
Yes.
the conversation about how Beryl got it brought into the team, it just made no sense.
I know.
that conversation is one that bothers me the most. Like Beryl brings the macros. Like
I
what
know.
macro? This team is just doing shit and hoping it sticks, And I think the main thing there is that. There are parts of the game that keeps them grounded and also maintain that creativity, and it helps.
Yeah.
The thing that helps the most, that honestly, when it comes to the lane phase, they just seem to be, on par. They seem to be on par. And right now, we're in a world where HLE, Genji, T1 is underperforming. Maybe that sounds like something that is easy, but it's still demonic names on the other side. And the lane phase, regardless of your form, the lane phase comes so intuitively, and that's something that you practice all the time. But to see them get into lane matchups, get solo kills, get 2v2 kills, and come out ahead in advantages in the head-to-head is just what puts them in great positions. And D+, honestly, the CV Max project is finally working.
Yeah, it is.
It's working. And God bless, maybe Fearless is the one thing that will make sure the CV Max will never find himself in these stubborn traps where he runs back the same draft over and over again.
He can't do it, mate.
Yeah.
Well, Riot's actually nerfed the salty run back. You're right. They've made him actually have to draft other things. It's true. He was. If people don't know, even in LPL, he was criminal for that. He is actually one of the worst people of all time for just running back a dog shit draft where it's like, no, CV Max, it was you that fucked up, man, not them. That wasn't the execution. I'm with you. By the way, there's a bunch of things there. Because first of all, I actually think you set it up well. In the same way as I gave that credit where, look, last year was about BDD for KT. But the point is, when someone plays as well as BDD players, it gives you a chance, if you're perfect, to just have a good series somewhere. If you're Doctor, just have a good Worlds, mate. Have a good Worlds go up in the playoff series. Even people like, I never thought the Peter guy was that good, but he would have the odd game that was decent. He'd play a champion that made sense in the comp. So I do think, actually, the thing about the LCK that makes it cool is, not only is it wide open right now, it really just depends what the meta is once we get to the end of the season and the playoffs, doesn't it? But actually, we've got the most insane, like, this isn't just rock, paper, scissors. This is like 6 different elements that can all beat each other depending on the scenarios, because people don't know D+ has beaten back-to-back Genji and HLE. Like, what? And then that's without the EWC where they beat BLG and that's unbelievable. Already, you have to give them the credit that they actually might secretly be a truly elite LCK team, which, by the way, puts you in the conversation, as always, for one of the best teams in the world. It's been a long time since anyone said that about D+ Pro. Also, on that whole thing that you said earlier about Beryl, since obviously sucks for you Zoomers, but you know what? Do your fucking homework. Obviously, our love language, Yamato, we learned a long time ago, is to saw Seinfeld. So here's the analogy for you, because I'm with you. The idea Beryl was doing macro, he doesn't even know, he's anti-macro, bro. His whole style was doing random shit in the game. That was the cleverest thing he did, wasn't it? Like drafts that make no sense. Here's the analogy. If macro is like a flash mob, where you all suddenly all do the same dance at the same time, well, you know where I'm going here. Beryl's style was a lane with the little kicks. He was just doing some shit that didn't even look good, and everyone was like, what the fuck is that? But I tell you what, it was effective, wasn't it? You remembered some Beryl shit, didn't you? Because that is still one of the best looking. There's even a thing at some sports stadium I saw the other day on social media where they do like a contest where kids go along and do the lane dance. It might be like the Mets or something in baseball. So there's some like thing where they do a contest still for that, mate. You remember that? The little kicks.
That was unforgettable. Honestly,
that thing where Kramer, if you remember when Kramer was illegally filming that movie, but it got filmed over by the kicks of Elaine, and the person watches it like, the movie was really haunting because it ends with this solo dancer who's got some sort of like, mate, people have to know. Seinfeld is beyond goated, isn't it? It's too good. It's too good.
Bro, it's crazy that all that shit happened in the same episode, like the whole Jerry saga that he's shooting the best pirated films.
And that guy who's like literally got a gun on him, making him shoot pirate films, I know. And then when Jerry, listen, I don't care if you don't like Seinfeld, I love it, right? It's that bit, Yamato, when Jerry becomes a diva, like he's a director, like my whole like, I'm gonna need 2 cameras set up, and the guy's like, just film the fucking. He's like, I can't work like this, Kramer. And he's like, and he's going, listen, Jerry wants to do the project, but you know he's an artist. You know how they are. Like, man, how was that show so good, Yamato? It's too good, isn't it? It's goated. It's beyond goated, bro. It's goated.
Oh man. Oh, where were we? Oh,
anyway, back to league. Bro, here's the angle on league.
Their matchups, though. The coming ones, T1 and KT. Bro, are they just the favorite coming into both? Is that where?
Here's what's sad. we'll do this if it happens. If they win those 2 matches, we will actually do the episode, bro. I can't even believe this is real, but I'm going to have to sit. Is D Plus the best team in the world? If they win those, they've already beaten the 2 hard ones in theory, Genji and Amwalife, because I'm with you. Mate, now every player has had his moment. The Korea guy, if people don't know, is also the player that was crying after that game where everyone was hating on CV Racks. By the way, I do notice most of those people didn't even know he won that game, I believe. Like, they just did that thing like, I hate CV Racks and he must have bullied him. Whereas as far as I can tell, it was some weird thing like he thought he'd let his own team down. It was all those like Korean things where he took it too much on himself, you know. Then also, I'll run through the list. You're right. Shiwu, by the way, is having like the best month of his whole fucking career, mate. He's bashing in the goats of top lane. Lucid was, I think it might have even been the Genji series. There was one series he just carried me. He had like an unbelievable one. Smash was the other series fucking going out this world. Remember that guy, we all know he was decent last year in T1. He had his moments where he looked good. This team actually, it's one of those things where it's just all come together suddenly. You had the flashes before. You'd have the moment where Lucid was good. You'd have a laning phase, like you say, where you can keep up with the absolute best. You'd have the odd moment where you went, I can see why Smash was in T1, but it never all came together. Mate, this is like going to be the best month in the career in the legacy. Let's just say that. Fuck the word. I have to change it, mate. This is going to be the best month in the legacy of D Plus for like 5 years or something absurd, mate. This is the idea. D Plus is back is crazy too, isn't it? Here's the thing. KT came and went. D Plus was just like the also runs. In fact, I even remember thinking we've had these conversations. Showmaker, are you on some like if people don't know, Del Piero, when he used to play for Juventus, was so loyal. He actually didn't leave when they got relegated for cheating because he said, oh, well, now that they're relegated, they need me more than ever. And he was like a captain. So, like, Showmaker's just on some legendship, bro. He's just never going to be in another team. I remember thinking the last few years, mate, just go to the LPL, take that JDG offer or go and play in Weibo or something, get a massive check and then win Worlds. Like, I tell you what, I'm going to say, just like with BDD last year, if Showmaker gets to Worlds with this roster and is competitive, you know what? Let's get him back in that fucking all-time mid laner conversation. He's been out for it for a long time. I tell you what, this year would be a BDD-esque year, wouldn't it?
100%. Yeah. I just Showmaker's just been borderline flawless. It's like, is he the best mid laner right now in the LCK? Well, he had a very, very good matchup against Chovy. You know, we just praised Chovy, but in that head-to-head, he was the better mid laner. And as well as Chovy played today, to be able to say that is just the best praise possible for Showmaker. His form has just been fantastic, and I think that is what keeps them rooted and grounded. Because every team is making mistakes. D+2. It's not like they're playing perfect games. They're not Genji in their prime, but they're allowed to do so much more because their floor is just so much higher due to just the fundamentals that they offer. And I think it always starts with mid lane. If your mid lane is laning well and is farming, then any game, like a lot more games, becomes playable. Definitely. And Showmaker, last year in particular, or in the previous year, he kept just selling his conditions to follow up on plays that didn't make sense.
Put it this way, I've actually, one of the cool things about doing these arguments on the internet and talk shows is you actually do become like Skip Bayless and those guys in American TV. Well, when you've done an argument a million times, you know where the insides and outs of it, you know where to make your case the best and what the counter is. And so if people don't know, I have 2 famous counters that I do for Smeb as the GOAT top laner and for Rookie as the GOAT mid laner. All I do is this, it's about what teammates they had. I actually just run off a list of names for Rookie and I go, do you know who all those players are? Those are all the bot lanes Rookie had. And when you see the list, mate, it is criminal because he's playing in the LPL hobby, like the land of the ADCs. He's with like, you know, fucking Puff and Southwind, and there's some crazy one. Same thing I always say about Smeb. If you think Smeb's been overtaken by Zeus and Bin and fucking Keen, just tell me this. Who was his mid laner for most of his career? Are you fucking kidding me? He was doing all that with Kuro. Like, mate, that's already genius. You must be unbelievable to do that. Because I agree with you. League of Legends, we had to talk about this on the last episode of Shut Up and Scale. Mid lane has been the best role and most important role almost every single year. I think we were able to find like 1 year where it wasn't like the most, and even then it was like second. You know what I mean? Like it just starts and ends. And let's be real, LCK, land of the mid laners. That's just a hall of fame. It's like the GOAT discussion's just in the LCK, mate. It's unbelievable in it, the mid laners. Like, some with you. Anyway, obviously, if I go and look at the guys in the LCK and I see all the legends are just firing out of control, they must obviously be eating their vegetables, mate. They must actually be getting all the nutrients. They must all be empowered again. They're back to their best. What if someone at home, Yamato, wanted to take care of their health and lifestyle like that?
Honestly, the simplest way is to just start doing AG1, start taking it. Every morning it's part of my routine. It's just good to start the day with a good decision. You just wash it down. At first glance, you're like, oh, what is this funky color? It doesn't taste like it looks, bro. It tastes very, very good.
It's nice.
It's very, very good. It's like, oh, I'm always skeptical when they tell you it's like, oh, it has 80 vitamins. It has all the minerals that you need, the probiotics and whole food ingredients all into one bottle. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like one of those things where I need to just cover my nose and one shot it. But I just have like refrigerated water and then drink it cold, mix it well, and then boom, easy peasy. Like I prepared. I don't need to use it anymore, but I prepared these are all the supplements I used to take in the past.
Okay.
I was like, and now I don't need to take care of it. I even have one more. Even one more. All those supplements, you do your research. My brother is into all that jazz, and to be able to push that all away and to just simplify and streamline the process is honestly a blessing, because keeping track was like, you sit there with all your pill cases and you're like, what did I take? What did I not take?
Yes.
It's like, it's the kind of, at least for me, I don't want to have all those decisions on my head and all that in memory that could cause kind of an overload. So just, you mix AG1 Pro, boom, it's done. Now with, of course, AG1 Pro, what's cool about it is they've also thrown in creatine monohydrate, which is another thing off the list. Everyone says AG. Of course, creatine was on the, the most studied, supplements out there. And to just have it in the mix as well is also super easy. You simplify your stack. It's also very easy to just stick with it because I mentioned, the flavor and the simplicity of it. Everyone is, of course, very, very health conscious. And I do think that raising the floor for your nutrition is, the best way to make sure that every day, no matter what comes your way, you started off with a good decision, and then you don't have to worry about many other things of the day. So with that being said, of course, visit drinkag1.com/summoning to get a free AG1 Pro Yeti shaker in your AG1 Pro welcome kit. That's drinkag1.com/summoning. Put an anchor on your life and make sure that the floor is as good as now. It's basically having Showmaker mid lane right now. It's just your floor becomes a lot better, and you make sure that your day starts the right way. So once again, drinkag1.com/summoning.
Okay, well, what's funny is this just really makes the point of what I said about how competitive the LCK is, because you're all going to think we've gone from Gen G deeper, but surely next it's HLE. No, fuck it, we're going KT Rolster now, because you know what? Same thing applies. KT Rolster, if they win the next week of matches, they're back at the top of the fucking LCK in terms of like how good they, people don't know. They beat T1 2-0 in the Telecom War, and they beat Hanwha Life 2-1. It was 2-0 against T1. It was 2-1 against Hanwha Life just literally like 3 days ago or something like that. If you look at KT, mate, there's another example of a team where, look, you know all the players, you know all the names, but did anyone really expect this? Obviously, they had the drama with fucking aiming. They brought in the Fenrir guy. If people don't know, that even came out later. It's basically implied that like aiming had an argument with someone. People say it's BDD if you read between the lines. And it sounds like aiming was willing to come back, but then BDD was just sort of like to the court, get him the fuck out the team, and they've just brought in this Fenrir guy, and they just don't give a fuck about aiming, mate. He's out. Like at this point, I assume he'll have to end up signing somewhere else or just fuck off to the LPL or something. So suddenly KT's back in the mix, mate. That's a team this year that's been irrelevant. Like we've said all year long, like what a drop off from #1 team at Worlds at one moment. Like they looked like they were going to win the World Championship. They looked fucking awesome in LCK summer. All of a sudden, they're back in the game, and I actually think that's another example of where, yes, you start with BDD, you glaze, oh, amazing, all the shit he does. He has some. I always say this. What changed about BDD to me that I find so impressive is I always thought before he was a great player that was a little bit mentally fragile. He has unbelievable mental fortitude now, mate. Like every game, he's just in it constantly. And if you ever give him a chance, like that fucking triple kill that T1 gave him, that game over, mate. Like you give him that little opening, and this, if there's anyone knows how to hard carry a game, it's him. But he's getting help from the other teammates. Like I'll tell you the one that really confuses me, Yamato. There's certain players where we almost have to have like what you call like a moratorium or something, where you like revisit what do we think of this player? Like let's like assess what's going. Mate, one of the most confusing players in LCK history is the jungler Kaz. Because he has highs. People forget this. He was the guy on like that KT Super team a few years back that was excellent. He was actually with BDD a million years ago in the Longzhu team. People forget that one. That they just deleted that because later they got like Peanut or whatever the fuck it was for a while. Like this is a guy where at Worlds he was cooking. He was one of the reasons they almost won Worlds. If you go and watch I think it was the Hanwha Life series the other day, he was fucking mega, mate. He was like remember, we've all just said, like Kanavi, we're going to be doing this every week with all the teams, by the way. Your time to be number one, Konami. You are the best now. Water's fallen off. Canyon fucking sucks. Like, give me your thoughts on KT. What's going on? How are they cooking again?
I think that at first when the discourse in the community was about it always starts from T1 and then you discuss the topic because everyone was talking about who should replace Doran, because that's always
yes.
Honestly, whatever team Doran is on, that is the discussion. Who will replace him? And people mentioning Perfect, and I wasn't really bought into it because I thought that he always came and went in terms of his form.
Yes.
But recently, now it's like I don't know. He just so damn solid. I think that if I remove the nameplate, I think that the way Perfect plays reminds me so much of Keen. You have a player that is capable of coming in and out of styles in a very, very good way and just chooses his moments very well. He's so damn sturdy, and at the same time, the mastery of top lane is. In a world where you have very little information, to be so careful and delicate with the timings that you choose and take the right risks in terms of the trades that you make and in terms of how much farm you min-max, while at the same time never creating exposure where the enemy can stack a wave on you and dive, or you get chunked, or you get ganked by enemy support, because now, everyone is seeing now in terms of how much Camille's and Shens are roaming all over the map, the moment they're in fog of war, it makes the decisions that you need to take as a top lane so much more difficult. And currently Perfect just seems quite untouchable. I think that he plays such a steady game. Kind of reminds you of the best version of 369 almost. Just a very, very steady game. And I have been very impressed with the guy. You mentioned Kaz already. Just the entire top side is really, really good. And always with Fearless, you need to always, be in kind of a you need to be ready to kind of go in and out of styles. And even in those moments where they are playing a bot-heavy game, we saw Fenrir would just manage to kill Gumayushi in isolation. He has the confidence to just roll with the punches and to keep up. I think that with all of that in place, KT's biggest strengths were always in terms of how they played well collectively. And what was their shortcomings, especially after they went 8-0 and they started losing, was that they just didn't qualify into the games. They weren't mechanically good enough to keep up. But now everything is kind of falling into place and their strengths are still intact. Because KT always, when they were in a game state where they were ahead, you could kind of trust them to finish it out with dragon setups and making sure that there is no mess in the in-between. But now with how they qualify into the early games through their lane phase, especially with Kaz's form being so damn good, I think that there is, very little things that you can just point to as flaws. I still my main concern with KT in comparison to D+ is still, I have to see more of Fenrir. I need to see a longer period of consistency for Kaz and Perfect before I'm as sold on them as I am on D+. But currently, everything looks great. If they can continue at this level, at this individual level, and they can keep up as HLE and Genji and Tion will ramp up, because those teams will ramp up for sure, then KT will just remain as a top driver. But I do think still this team, the mechanical ceiling should be shorter and smaller than the others. But when you subtract that, you can add the fact that in the mid to late game, they are very, very clean around the objectives, which I think is a massive strength. I think that's a massive plus.
Yeah, first of all, the joke would be that actually, shout out to Aiming for being the secret GM of KT. He actually made the team better by fucking up his own position and getting himself kicked out on his ass. Right, basically, as far as I can tell, for raging his tits off because they lost to KRX in that bullshit Kesper Cup that no one even fucking cares about. It's all just online bullshit or whatever. But somehow, he's made the team better because actually, even though, yes, listen, it's a sample size of 2 matches, the Fenrir guy has been good. You watch that game he played again. This is why I always say you can actually do the punishments in the LCK that you can't do in any other region. You can sub a guy in the LCK and the guy who's coming from Challenger might just be good, mate. He might actually just be like an LCK worthy player. It's not like this shit where Bin can go enjoy the win ball guy, and you're like, Jesus, I'm struggling now. Was he that bad? Maybe I should just humble myself and say, sorry, Bin. You have to have those conversations in every region. I mean, I tell you what, this is a perfect time for this convo, mate, because my old mate Dardoc's back in the LCS, and Dardoc's whole career, if people don't know, was exactly this. It was he has a fucking fight with the coach. He gets benched, and they go, we're going to punish you, Dardoc. Then they bring any old random shitter in at jungle, they get their head smashed in 2-0 in the week, and they go, you know what? Dardok's back in the lineup. He's learned his lesson, and we're going to communicate. But it's like, nah, he was probably just sat there like a fucking Loki in that first Avengers movie. Like, you got to be pretty desperate to come to me for help. Like, yeah, exactly. That's what it's like. But I'm with you, mate. The Fenrir guy, it's only 2 series, but he's had some good ones. I thought, and a life one. Remember, he's playing Gooma, the guy we're all saying is the best ADC right now. He was fucking good, mate. He was cooking in that one. And then also, if you look,
just as a side note, sorry, it's just the conversation. It's just such a good reference point because a couple of episodes back, we talked about how Kalis brought up like that he's a top 10 ADC, and it's such a difficult conversation always to have. It's like he can play as good as he wants locally and then play the internationals, but in terms of the players that have to do it on the day-to-day basis, it's like this. Like even today, we saw Teddy just pop off completely against. Like it's a very very tough thing to measure when you don't need to do it day in day out against what are just the best in the world, and Fenrir was just sitting there.
Put it this way, it's why when Kalist says that, I don't even mean to be rude to him, because as I say, he doesn't play these scrims. He can't know this. He only goes to the internationals. But all I'll say is this: if you're Kalist and you don't watch the LPL and the LCK, without being rude to you, mate, you don't know this, but like Leave's probably better than you. I know that might sound crazy, but I watch the fucking games, man. That guy actually smurfs and has to 1v9 a bunch of them. We're talking just about talent here. We're not talking about what TV win, power ranking. Yeah, that's all based on other things. But yeah, if you're just talking about ability, mate, you have to always respect the talent depth of the LCK and the LP. It's crazy, mate. They just don't always GM the teams right, is all. Like, there are some, again, if no one's ever watched the LPL doldrums of the shitter groups, there's a guy called 1XN, who you probably have never even heard of. He basically is unbelievably cracked. He is like the fucking Chinese Diablo, like where you see him and you're just like, well, how is this guy not in like Weibo or something like that? What are we doing like with the rosters with people like that? How is Fortic in teams and this guy isn't? You know what I mean? You just watch it and you're like, these GM decisions are so weird. So I actually listen. What's funny is it's not even just him, bro. Now that Zuo fucker's still around messing up games for people, and I know exactly. Those two are just demons. They were sent to Earth to punish great players for some reason. So whatever. Want to put them to one side. I don't want to get triggered. We will get to the LPL later. So all I will say is this: here's a sentence you didn't expect to hear in the modern day. There's a possibility at the end of next week, Yamato, that we're going to have KT roster against D plus Kia for the title of current best team in the LCK. bruh. That's so gross, isn't it? It's so gross. But I tell you what, though, here's where we pivot it, because I'll tell you what, we will now talk about T1, and here's why, Yamato. Because you know what? Listen, everyone's beating everyone. So it's not like T1's beat Gen G 2-0 if people don't know. The problem is they lost to KT, and the way they lost added to EWC, added to MSI. Mate, that is one team that I can't even take the copium of the Gen G win. That is a team in real trouble, and I'm just going to seed it right now. Yes, I know I did it every other year when it was possible they could lose in the qualifier. This is the most likely year T1 doesn't make it to Worlds. Not only is the whole LCK cooking in the Legends group, but I have never seen players from the ZOGFK legendary core this bad. Like, mate, this might be, in that era of when they made ZOGFK, this might be the combined worst like month of play of Owner and Faker ever as a duo. The original duo. That was, if people don't know, that was the synergy. What's weird about their team is theirs wasn't like, it wasn't the Kerry or Owner. It was always Faker and Owner play together. They are so fucking criminal in some of these games, mate. Like, it's funny, you said earlier, every time a Doran team loses, everyone blames Doran. Mate, it ain't even Doran. Like, what are we talking? Owner's selling these games so hard, and then Faker's just not close to the best mid, I'm afraid. So, like, one thing I've seen about T1 that's continued since actually that EWC, this is criminal, bro. They are not the control team. They are not the smart team. They are not the team that like baits you. They are just going so horny for these kills and plays. And like, it's like they've never met a dive they don't like. And I'm sorry, Owner, mate, that was the best year of Owner last year ever. I actually felt really bad for him that people didn't acknowledge it because T1 wasn't the best until they won Worlds. But like, mate, there are some criminal ones. And I tell you what, aside from Doran, because he just gets his head bashed in, the only person I feel sorry for in their team, because even Kerry's had a bad couple of months, the only one I feel sorry for is Piers. You're on Korean fucking JDG now. I don't know how it happened. You with all these legendary players. You picked the worst time ever to join T1, unfortunately, because you're going to get told at the end of the year, it must be you. And it isn't you at all, mate. You're having some blameless games. Like, I still think he's the best ADC. I think he's unbelievable. So what do you think about this like fake Owner angle, mate? Because I have to say, if I look how dangerous the LCK is right now and how they haven't won any tournaments, haven't even made any finals, I'm sort of worried for T1, mate. Like, they better turn it around real quick.
Yeah, I think the what makes this this year very different from the past is that I always thought the T1 was a team where if they got to play and they were on somewhat even footing the post 20-minute mark, then they would figure it out. Like they would be very dangerous there, and the teams below them would never beat them unless they would just get stomped out of the early game.
Yes.
And the unique way that T1 lose, I think the main one is that final game they played against Casey, where they couldn't close out the game with 3 Nashers. When the meta has changed, and especially the power of Nasher and the way the meta has shifted, I feel like you can't dig into your magic the same way. You can't dig into your experience the same way because the patterns of how you close out games and how you gain leads are just very different. I look to Owner specifically. A point that I made in previous episodes, I believe, is just that in terms of where the jungle meta is, the jungle meta is as Chinese as it's ever been.
Yep.
And you can see it in the underperformances of the best junglers in the LCK. We see that Canyon is struggling, Owner is struggling. The fact that Lucid is rising again, and that Kanavi at times was the best, but now he's just all over the place. I do think that LCK junglers have had a legacy of course, being very farm heavy, being very efficient, and never really taking major risks, and then just showing up big time in team fights. Because obviously, often what happens is that the best player in your region becomes the model for how you want to kind of play things. And obviously, for the longest time, people just followed Canyon's way of approaching the jungle. And I think Owner carried that legacy forward too, where the biggest criticism towards T1 was the fact that, he never ganks early, doesn't play with bot lane, and just ganks top on occasion. But then he was always the jungler that just had 3 items suddenly on Vi, and then just clutched out the team fight because he just had the better smite, just the better team fight, found some crazy Lee Sin kick. That's Owner. And now everything has kind of shifted. Even though last year I did think that Owner and Keria played better and better together, now it's even more intense in terms of how close-knit you need to be in terms of finding angles to get into the game. And if your jungler isn't sharp on that, especially this year, because regardless of those topics of synergy or lack of synergy, Owner is just individually not playing well. We've had segments where he hasn't. I thought last year was probably like his best year, and I thought that we finally got to the point where he has become like a veteran in the true sense, where his floor is just so damn high and he can always understand the pathway to the game. But this year has been such a massive regression. And in a world where T1, what always got them through the early game was Owner and Keria just playing so damn good, and then always Faker and Thorin would kind of pay off the debt they would create in the early game by being really, really good in team fights. Those two things just aren't there. And what you're left with is just Pace, an ADC that is trying his absolute best to carry in a meta that has a lot of AP champions in bot lane where you're left in isolation, and maybe that's the best play pattern. We see more and more ADs being played, but the meta just is very, very wrong for T1. And I think the main hope for anyone that wants T1 to do well again is that Keria and Owner finds their best form again, because they need it. We can't expect Doran and Faker to outplay. Like, Faker is playing against a Showmaker that is in insane form. We have Chovy. Zek has been fantastic this year too. It's like the competition there is very, very tough. Same thing for top lane. We know that Zeus has been really, really good, but now we add Siwu and Perfect to the list. So the expectancy here that your solo laner is suddenly going to outperform their counterparts in the early game is just not going to be there. So T1, Owner and Keria, we're just waiting for them to have good form again. But currently it's not the case, and we're just left with, as you said, just the best ADC in the world, but very, very lonely.
I mean, it's just the ultimate, like you're saying, the meta plus the teams he's playing against. ADC just isn't like that, mate. It isn't the 1v9 from minute 1 of the game. That's not the role that we're playing in this case. I'm with you. I actually don't blame Piers. I actually think he's blameless in a lot of these games, and actually even tries really fucking hard as well, mate. The kid's got crazy heart. That's one thing I'll give him right there. He definitely doesn't do that thing of like, oh, well, it's a shit year. Like, he knows like there's a big legacy if you're in T1 and they've won all these worlds in a row. By the way, think about this. Thorin didn't have this because he won last year. If your peers, I know what Korean players are like, mate. Even if he plays awesome like this and they either don't go to worlds or, God forbid, they just like go out in groups at worlds, he'll do that thing where he'll blame himself and be like, I apologize to the fans. It's my fault, you know, and it isn't. It isn't in this case, mate. I just get that that's what Koreans are like. Like, they expect if you join T1, you play with Faker, you get to win the World Championship. And unfortunately for him, obviously I was exaggerating by saying it's the Korean JDG, but it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad situation. And how were you? Mate, actually, if there's anyone right now should be just praying to the gods above that Riot just says, like, right, no more majors in the bot lane. It's got to be Piers, mate. Like, that would make him like twice as effective in the game right now. Because isn't one of the biggest problems right now also, let's pivot into a Carrier discussion. Mate, Carrier, what a cursed moment to tell everyone you're the GOAT of support, bro. Like, ever since you did that, it's like you stopped playing the game. You're like, I've already secured GOAT HUD, so I guess I'm just going to send it. Because here's what's crazy, Yamato. Surely right now, if I'd have gone back in time last year and told you in the following year, there's a meta where because actually you can just put a mage bot lane, the support can just roam all over the map. Bro, this should be the MVP Carrier split. That sounds amazing. He's having some really, really rough games, mate. He's actually gone from... I agreed with him when he said that. Of course, you're the GOAT, mate. There's earlier times this year I thought you were the best player in the world during the first part of the LCK rounds 1 to 2 or whatever the fuck. Again, if your peers... If I'm playing with Carrier, I'm supposed to be GOATed, but this isn't Carrier right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest blessing for T1 and the problems that they face is like by contrast, you know, I still think that they are dealing with currently a lesser problem than HLE and Gen G. You know, it's like in terms of how I rank them. Like if you told me, yo, rank them 1 to 5, I would probably I would put T1 above like Gen G in some degrees. I would put them over HLE right now because HLE just looks completely out of sorts. It's like if I had to do a power ranking right now, I put D+ at the top. Then I'm deciding T1 and KT on second. That's like the tough one. And then like Gen G, HLE. I feel like HLE is the one that is just struggling the most with how Duro and Canavi is Delight and Canavi is playing because it's just unacceptable. So it's like T1 have issues, but they might be blessed that everyone else does too. Yes. And I'm thinking back to that Gen G series that they played. They did beat them, but it was because they brute forced a nice Lucian Melio game. And then they found themselves playing Ezreal Seraphine, and then Carrier did like nasty things with a 5-man Seraphine ult, and he got to do his his plays. And the main thing is now is that everyone that watched that is going to look, it's like, yeah, we're never giving him Lucian. We're never giving him like good Ezreal angles. We're not giving them like actual bot lanes that are decided in the bot lane. Like people are going to challenge that and that's where the problems of their solo lanes is going to shine through. It's like, oh, they ban out our bot laner and they're not doing enough in the solo lanes. That is where the challenge comes through, and that's what I'm looking forward to in the next matchup that T1 plays, because the distance still, it's like the nameplate on the top 3 teams is so damn good that it can shift fast. But yes, this year is a little bit different. That I wouldn't be so concrete about saying it, just because we've seen the same flaws from the top 3 during larger segments ever than before. Because we've seen some short slumps, but we're like, it's just a week, no problem. They're gonna bounce back. Now we have a lot more data that showcases the issues. But I think there's a world where Tion figured it out, because something that Riot mentioned already, they want to challenge, of course. They don't like the situation with bot lane. And I was very happy with something that they listed, right? They listed that they're going to nerf how much supports can roam from level 1 to 5, which is a big plus already. Makes the dual bot lanes that are strong in lane a lot more valuable. And of course, they're also giving more magic resistance to ADCs. And we've already seen a resurgence of ADCs a little bit more and more with the Ezreal, Lucian, and Corki. So things might be going in the right direction for T1. There's a world where maybe they end up being the best somehow, because Pace is at the center of attention.
This is also why, if you're T1, Gen G just did you a favor by beating Hardware Life, because all of a sudden your win looks way better, doesn't it? Like, it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's still something there. Like, I'm with you. Especially also, I'll give you this as well. They were looking awesome heading into MSI, and that was already with solos that were looking a bit scuffed. So if anything, I'll tell you what actually is the hopium if you are a T1 fan. T1 for years in this era has been about less is more. They've never been the Hanwha Lifes and the Gen Gs that are like, we've got the super team. Look, everyone's amazing, but can they all play together? No, T1 is always about, can we find a blueprint to play the game? If we can find a blueprint to win the game, they can win. I mean, the obvious one to me would even be, like, as you say, either support or jungle meta changes. Those are two excellent players. Surely one of them is going to come back to life in general. And then the other one is, I actually think right now, it's not even purely that Faker's bad. He's also playing where I don't think the mid lane pool has ever been as good against him right now. And we're in the format where you don't get to play the bad teams. Remember, in past years, you'd get that stupid week where you get to play against Breon into fucking DN Supers. And even if you fake a scoff, you'd just find like an Orianna game you'd carry. You'd have a fucking Silas game that looked kind of cool with your mechanics. Your problem here is, even in the Gen G series, he wasn't like super insane or anything. Even though they won the game, he just did his job. Like, he has to go against people who have all their hands are still intact, bro. Every week, it's just this guy after this guy after this guy. So also, like, I'm with you. If they actually just improve a little bit, it's so messy in that group. They can be in the mix for it. It's why what's funny is I still can't tell, is this actually the time they don't make it? Because again, you know what? At this point in time, he's earned it. Until they actually get eliminated, I'll never pick against him in that sense. Like, I think actually he's earned the sort of bullshit Tom Brady, fucking angle. It's like, okay, let's see someone beat them though. That's a bit, listen, we've heard that story. I always say it this way. There's a million people had that story of, we're better than you right now, and we've got the edges on you, and we beat you the last time we played them. So in the big game, we're going to win. It's like, take a fucking number and get in line. A lot of people have said that, mate. And a lot of people, I think, crumble just because of the nameplate. And I think almost Faker and his teammates look at the nameplate, like I always tell you about Carrigan and CS, and they see Faker, and they go, oh, we've got Faker. He's going to win the game 3. He's going to carry the game 4. He's going to do the crazy pick on game 5 that you think, oh my god, he picked Silas, old man card in. He's gonna listen, even if it's for one game, he's gonna pull out his old hands and they're still gonna fucking work, and he's gonna actually do some plays, and he's gonna be Faker the playmaker. No, I'm with you. Right, I'll tell you an obvious angle we can do here, which is, yes, we're gonna revisit it again. Let's look at the poly market for the winner of the LCK, because it feels like every week I have to think to myself, is a different team going to win the LCK? Look, I will say, if I am looking at the D pluses and the KTs, I do reserve a little bit of judgment. I do wait and think, if you get to the BO5s and it's the real playoffs with the double limb, are you going to win all those series? I have to wait and see on those ones. You know what? That's where I expect players like Fenrir and like Carrier from D+. That's where maybe you won't have an awesome BO3. You'll have to win a whole BO5 in Fearless against some of these players that are legendary players that won Worlds, bro, and MSI. Like, those are the hard ones to win. But I'll tell you what, if you look at it right now, my lord, this is crazy, because Hanwha Life is at 22%. Gen G, who just had an ass series against T1, they're at 25. D+ is at 20, T1 is at 20, and because KT has only just come on, they're at 9%, and this is for the winner of the season, so it is way down the line. Still, we've got lots of league to play, we've got all the playoffs to play. I've got to say, as of right now, my usual 2 questions is, obviously, I mean, the main question is who's going to win. Let's just be real. With the numbers like this, I'll say this. Look, if for some reason you believe in KT, that is unbelievable value. I think you'll never get an LCK winner that could, because it's not impossible they could win at 9%, which is, I've never seen anything like that in my life. I would probably, yes, go with one of the other 4. And I've got to say right now, I'm going to be really cynical, Yamato. I do think nameplates are real. I do think that, like, form is, what's that saying? Form is temporary, class is permanent. If I actually look at it right now, all I'm actually thinking to myself is this. There's at least a month to get it back together. Which one of HLE and Gen G gets their shit together at the end of the split? Because I think one of those, if they come back, they absolutely can win. So in a second, we'll have a conversation about Hanwha Life. I've got to say right now, I would just be cynical. Part of me still thinks Gen G can do it. I don't really believe in the D+ one. I think that one's just cool for those players. I just hope they're good, and I hope they have a chance to go to Worlds. I'd like them to come as like a 3rd or 4th seed. I think they could mix it up and make LCK really strong. Hanwha Life, obviously, we're going to talk about it in a minute. It's mainly the draft. What's the meta going to be? Like, they were, I told you, the people at the Taco won it. They were like considered the best drafting team in the world going into MSI. That's why it's logical they were able to win. Also, didn't they kind of win off drafting? If you look at the end of the fucking series against BLG, they sort of actually picked the shrewder draft. So part of me feels like either Gen G players come online and help Chovy and he wins, or it is the Hanwha Life one. So but this is one of the rare times where I don't have the gut feeling for this one. I feel like every week I watch matches where I have to go, fuck, got to give it to you, KT. You did it. Shit, maybe actually Gen G is not that good. Oh wait, they're good again. So who does Yamato have winning LCK as of today? We're obviously going to do this again. Don't worry, like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So who wins today, Yamato?
Damn, it's for me right now. I think it's between Gen G and T1.
Listen,
I
if
think
you actually believe the T1 call and you make it now, I'll give you mad props if they win now.
I just
Sketch
look
at the same time.
I just look at the HLE to me is just out of the equation. I think HLE's problems just run so deep where I have always had this concern the entire year where even when they were ramping up and playing at their best, I just thought to myself, one meta shift in the wrong direction
Yes.
and this house of cards just falls apart.
Yes.
I think that it was a miracle job, like the fact that they made it work, where you have such specific players. The Light, very specific. Gumayushi, very specific. Zeka, Kanawi, very specific. Zeus, to me, best top player in the world. He's insane. He is absolutely
I don't
insane.
even blame him for that game 3 against Genji. He was great in that game. Mate. He was unkillable.
He's just been phenomenal through and through. Even in winter when they were like completely ass, he was doing well. Zeus to me has been amazing, but the rest. It's like I saw Gumayushi, playing Cassiopeia. I saw him, going back to the usual. I saw him in this game 3 also slam a Yonara, where it wasn't really good to play it, where you should pivot to playing maybe the Victor there and maybe keep the Victor flex to last and maybe blind pick the top lane. Maybe you could do something like this, just picking the Yonara there. He was just bro was just showing off his skins, He played MF and Yonara. This was advertisement for him. I feel like HLE's problems, if I think a month ahead, I think there is a risk that HLE don't fix it. Because still, when HLE was at their worst, it took them so long to kick it into gear. And you mentioned 1 month. And in many teams' context, that's a lot of time. But what HLE have shown is that this is a team that requires maybe more time. So I'm scared that we don't get to see the best version of Zeka again. Because we've seen him peak during segments of the year, and then he just doesn't find himself again. And all those things that we mentioned about Faker playing against demons, the same thing is true with Zeka. He has a lot of very, very strong mid laners to overcome, in, of course, Chovy, Showmaker, and BDD. So for me, HLE's problems are the ones that I fear the most for. And I think D+, and KT in particular, I think that their top end of the range, like they would have to peak so damn hard, and they would have to hope that these rosters with these that are so stacked to no end that that they would have to continuously fall apart and not solve their problems. The chance of that just feels so hard to believe for me. It's like it's easier to believe the usual suspects who just take it over the finish line. So for me, Genji or T1, gun to my head, I don't know, somewhat. I want to say Genji, but it's just so hard. This is a very tough question. Gun to my head, I would say Genji or T1. I would have to pick 2 here, Thor. Let me pick 2.
No, by the way, I think that's fair. I basically said I'll just go on field between Genji and Hanwha Life personally. That's one thing I wanted to ask you, because I want to let's get a bit of predictive power here. We've done a lot of episodes in the last month and a half about Hanwha Life, because every episode it was like, are they actually becoming good? Wow, wait a minute, are they one of the best teams? Fuck, they've overtaken KT. Are they the best team in the LCK? Are they the best team in the world? Wait a minute, they would never say. So here's the question, right? The whole time, I'll give you credit for this. If no one remembers, Yamato said the whole time they were mega reliant on the meta. That wasn't just they're the best team because they have amazing names. As you said, you look at their roster, they have, I think, here's what's funny. Genji on paper has the super team where it's like, you just throw it in there and they should just be able to do anything. Like you look at that roster, it should be. Hanwha Life has the one where it's like, you better have very specific matchups and synergies to make that work. Because actually, I'm with you. Aside from Zeus, everyone else on that lineup, it depends. Like Zeka's been having his best year ever, but you know what? He's been someone who has been meta reliant in the past. Guma is just a very unusual ADC. He's never been the I'm the god of the lane type guy. Also, even with all that amazing run of HLE, the light still looked sus at times, mate. And if you saw this game today, he has had some criminal games again. He is still the guy who will sell his team out so badly and just not do an ult or just fuck up completely in some moment where actually Carrier and fucking other people like that wouldn't. They would press the button. They would land the shot. I think actually he's a little bit lucky he's on such a good team this year. And I think if he does badly, by the way, he might be the guy who gets tossed out maybe for some of the people we're talking about on the lesser teams. And then Kanavi he just has the spirit of the LPL in him. He can look like the best jungler in the world if he's at fucking MSI, and he can have games like this where it's like, and he looks like the worst jungler in the group. That's just part of who he is. So here's the question: in light of the framing we set before, what meta change would you like to see if Hanwha Life is going to be the best team again? What would need to change? Are there any of the upcoming changes you could see benefiting them? What do you think? Because obviously, by the way, as you say about the majors, I can see now why Guma, before the drop-off, was already doing the like, I'd prefer like ADCs in the bottom. Yeah, no shit you would, bro. So what meta change should we have if Hanwha Life's going to go back to the top?
I think the main thing for me is like for Kanavi, I think that in terms of having the fighter junglers being good, I think that's like in a fine place. He just has, it comes in and out of form a lot. That's just who he is. I think for bot lane, I think the simple angle is just that you kind of want to go into a game and hope that game 1 you can play Rel, that game 2 you can play Rakan, and game 3 that you can play Alistar. And that is the number one hope for Delight. I think in terms of keeping up with the beats, in terms of roaming, I don't think that's his strength. I think that in terms of doing the range matchups, he's never going to be better than the other guys, especially with the come-off of some of these guys, like we mentioned already, D+'s career, that he's doing so well in the matchup. I think that on so many topics, Delight has to play catch-up, and I think with the rapid progression of everybody else, you just have to hope that it lands in a place where he is in game 1 on those champions that I mentioned. I think when it comes to the best angle that they have, I think if mid lane is in a place where Zeka, I know everyone wants him to play the melee champions, and when he gets good angles for it, good. But I think that Zeka is at his best when he gets to play the champions over and over him that are just focused on pushing and roaming to connect to Kanavi. I'm thinking of like Rise, for example. If they play, for example, they're in the game and they have a Nafiri, Rise, Rel as their core, and they can actually support Kanavi, because I don't know, Kanavi just seems to be. I wonder how he communicates. I'm really curious. I'm really curious. Like, did you say I'm going here no matter what?
You get the vibe he does what your boy Hiller sang. I've always told people I didn't need to ask players. I know there's no way he can communicate what he's doing. He doesn't know. He sees the matrix. He fucking goes for the play. He hits the send button. I get the same feeling about Kanavi, mate. He just goes in to me. Like there's no way he's like planning these. There's no way there's like a set play. He just does them. He just sends it.
Because it's like the best version of HLE that we saw this year was when it's like he played the same, but he just had people with him. So they just need to figure out how to make sure to have people with them. And I think a melee support, and of course on top of that, a world where Gumayushi gets to play, whether it's his Zaya, he gets to play these isolated ADCs like Jhin, then I think it kind of works out. I think the main thing is it's like it relies heavily on form too, because it's not only the meta. I think individual form is also crucial because this playstyle, Kanavi can't go in and out of it. Like he just simply can't. We've never seen him do it. Maybe at best we saw him do it at JDG, but sometimes, there were games where he entered the early game on JDG, but it just didn't matter. It's like, I don't know.
I think the best late game team fighting ever, so it could just make up for it, couldn't it? I know.
I think it's like if someone told me like the average gold lead of JDG was like negative out of LPL, or then I would be like, I wouldn't be surprised, because there's so many games that were just behind, but it just didn't matter because they just team fought better than everybody, and their bot lane, like Missing and Ruler, could just lane any lane ever. Like they could just pick Jinx, Rakan, and lane against like Nautilus, Draven, and go even or even ahead, and you're like, what the fuck? How can they do this? So this has been a part of Kanavi since forever. So for HLE to succeed, it needs to be the melee supports, pushing mid laners so they can support Kanavi, and then Kanavi needs to be in really, really sharp form, because he is just too feast of famine. Like that final against BLG is like the perfect depiction of him, because game 1 he was like the best jungler in the server, and then he has that Xin Zhao game where he just goes 0-6. Even last week he had like a 1-12 Jarvan game, and you're like, 1-12. This is the MSI champion. This is 1-12, going 1-12 in a game. This is supposed to be Apex League of Legends. It's that to me is like the main things that need to fall into place. It's just that fragility of finding your peak is probably the bigger concern to me when it comes to HLE.
The craziest thing as well is he's a fucking Korean jungler. People forget because he was in the LPL. He's not Chinese. Like, that is the Chinese style of League of Legends, where you're just like, you know what, motherfucker, I'm either going to be the best player or the worst player. Let's just flip everything. Flip heads. You just don't give a fuck, do you? But the mad thing is, even when he's back in Korea, and I can guarantee, mate, I'm sorry, the Korean coaches definitely do like safer macro plays, and you play off advantage and leverage. This guy, it's like I say, he just is the spirit of the LPL, bro. It's why in some ways he doesn't half make HLE games fucking exciting, mate. Because also the other thing that's cool about him, this is why it's a classic archetype. He has some crazy hands too, mate. Like, that's what makes it work. Like, that's why I even drew the comparison. I do think he's sort of like a Hillesang type guy. By the way, shout out Hillesang. He just had his kid the other day. His name, by the way, even Maxim. Yeah, he always did do everything to the max, didn't he? Holy fuck, you've nailed it. Perfectly done. Because this guy, the reason why he could be so crazy is because he had unbelievable ability to execute plans that none of us understood, and we're not even sure if he actually fully understood as he was doing them. He just sort of figured it out as he went. You know, my joke, I always used to say, I think geniuses like Peak Canyon, they do know the play they're making on the Lee Sin. The analogy of someone like, you know, fucking MLXG or someone like Canavi is, I feel like they figure out the plan on the way in on the queue when they're on Lee Sin. You know what? They hit the queue, and as they're going in, they're like, what do I shit? And they just do some shit with their hands and they get out of it. And then I'll bet there's games, mate, they look to their side like this after the team wipe, and the mid lane is just like, you know, that fucking meme.
It's like the scene in, you know, Rush Hour 2 when they're like in the bathhouse. And then
Exactly.
Jackie Chan picks up that guy's laptop.
I know.
Actually, it was Tucker.
Yes.
Just breaks the laptop. Yeah. It's like, who the fuck are you?
I know.
And they have to find their way out. It's like, yeah, this is what they planned.
Yes. Because the other thing that's cool, if you notice how we set it up here, is it's kind of a bit of both, as always. There's never really that extreme. It's not that the LCK is shit. What it is though, no team is actually complete right now. Whereas, I'm sorry, as pointed out by that insane record of like Gen.G and Trophy, there were many years where Gen.G was the best team. The question was, could they do it on the big day? Could they do it at Worlds? Other than that, though, every other day of the year, yeah, they were fucking unbelievable. That's why they used to win. They used to win MSIs without losing the series. Like that was like not even some crazy shit. We used to just watch it and go, that makes sense. It actually is totally logical why they're the best. Look how they play the game. Right now, League in LCK has never been more exciting, but also more about, like, you know, some fucking, here's my strengths, do they work? Or is it actually my weakness what's magnified today? Also, you add in these drafts, mate, the draft is fucking bonkers right now in the LCK. Like, I feel like no team can actually do 3 good drafts in a row. Don't you think so? Yeah. Like, who is even the best drafting team right now for you, Yamato, in the LCK? Who do you pick?
Honestly, I think that D+ have the best read.
Maybe my God, if people don't know, the most infamous thing about TV Max is that he's supposed to be dog shit at drafting. He's supposed to be the best scout in the world. He's dog shit at draft. I can't lie though. He's cooked, mate. He's had some crazy comps.
Like, it could be one of those things where it's just like winner's bias, but in terms of being able to play, like the widespread of being able to play the things that are important, because like every team is like, oh, this team can't play Camille, this team can't play Castiobot, this team can't play Syndra in both lanes. It's like the spread is just so nice, especially with Showmaker. It's like when I think of his best champions in his lifetime, it's like they're in the meta right now.
Yes.
Because I do think a very important detail right now, more than ever, is that Gen.G, when they were at their best, they spoiled us with this image of that the best team should be able to play everything. But you can get so far by predicting the winner based off of comfort in the game. Like, for example, that game 2 with HLE's draft is, even though coming into the day I had this feeling that Gen.G is going to win, that game 2, it's like when I see the Olaf blind and I saw the Akali, even though it was into Rise, I was like, they're going to be so comfortable. It's like Kanavi's on Vi. That's his best champion. He's 9-1. No matter how bad Kanavi's going to play on like in a best of 3 series, the Vi game is going to be good most of the time. So it's like leaning into comfort and recognizing where players perform good on, of course, the champions that they do good on, like historically, I think you go so far with that. And I think in terms of drafts being good, I think they just have such a good spread of playing the strongest champions in the game right now.
Well, at the moment, at least, there are no bald frauds in the LCK. And I hope that there aren't any in our user base, despite what the circumstance of your life may be. So is there anything that people could consider if they actually suffer from some sort of hair loss issue, Yamato?
No, of course. You mentioned it yourself, catching yourself in the mirror and doing the mental math on your hairline, most guys know that moment, you start to think it's like, you had that sudden moment where like suddenly the light hits you a certain way and there's a mirror. It's like, damn, I didn't know that was going on. You don't want to be in that position. So Hims, of course, makes it very simple to just actually do something about it. Hims offers convenient access to a range of prescription hair loss treatments with ingredients that, of course, work, including chews, oral medications, serums, and sprays. I know some people that don't know how to swallow pills. It's like, bro, baby, grow up. But to be honest, Hims is a service. So it's like they got you covered if you're a big baby and you can't swallow pills. Fine. Prescription strength like finasteride and minoxidil can help prevent further hair loss and regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. So, you gotta get started as soon as possible, and you shouldn't have to go out of your way to just feel like yourself. That awkward thing when you need to call, have a doctor's appointment. It's like I have had issues with my eye for the longest time, and I couldn't find an eye doctor appointment for the longest time. And if I'm going to try to find a doctor's appointment, I call them up and say, "Yo, I have hair loss, bro." They're gonna tell me you have to wait 2 years here in Germany. So to get it done online without all that stress of the waiting rooms and the waiting time and all that jazz. Easy peasy, flexible subscription options, just straight online, access to 24/7 provider support, and a once a day treatment option is just available for anybody to, of course, fit your daily routine. So for simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LFN. That's hims.com/LFN for your free online visit. hims.com/LFN. Featured products include compounded drug products which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Individual results may vary. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
You know what, Yamato? I would say I feel sorry for anyone watching this episode who's a Zoomer because they won't get all the Seinfeld episodes. No. That's not the problem. I feel sorry for you because you haven't watched Seinfeld. Do your homework because I'm going to do it again. Mate, one of my favorite moments ever in an episode of Seinfeld is at the end of that episode where George gets that ridiculous toupee.
Yeah.
He walks into the diner, the classic diner. He walks in swagged out because he's got that like ridiculous looking like 90s toupee. He walks in like a blazer. He leans against the thing, and there's like a beautiful woman who's like a fucking brunette, with like nice big breasts and everything. And she's sitting there, she's on her own, and he just leans, and because this is how ridiculous Seinfeld is, and I'm going to act as Jason Alexander's. He just leans against the thing and he goes, "So how's your life? Okay." And the woman just like complete fantasy that would never happen. She just goes, "Not bad at all," and like kicks this chair out as though he can come and sit down. He's like, and he gives that like look to the camera, like, bro, it's too good. People think I'm trolling because here's the problem. I actually know why people can't get into Seinfeld. Probably because it has the laugh track, you know what I mean? And it seems cheesy. But I'm telling you, if you can get past like those elements that are kind of 90s TV, it is genuinely, I'm not even trolling, like the best written show ever. Like the way that his show is scripted is unreal. If you don't know, basically, each character has their own storyline that at the beginning have nothing to do with each other. And by the end, they've all somehow like intersected in some way, like where whatever stupid thing Kramer's doing affects what Jerry's doing, which affects how George tries to get out of a scam, which affects how Elaine does some of her job. And like, it's genuinely, it's unreal, isn't it? Like, I actually remember that show as if it was my own memories of my own happy life or something, mate. Like, it never happened, Yamato. It never happened, bro.
It's also just so rewatchable because now, like, as you mentioned this, is like, I'm thinking back, is that the episode where the woman that George is dating decides to shave her head and then he's judging her for being bald? And then is that the same episode with the big salad that he paid for, that she gave? I'm trying to remember. It's like, did all of that happen in the same episode? It's so rewatchable because it's like you remember, but it's like how they manage to like melt everything together is so damn unique that you're caught by
No, no.
pleasant surprises all the time.
But it's way, I always say this. It's actually one of the reasons. Put it this way, why I'm a Christopher Nolan fan. I always say, even when there's a twist, like my favorite movie ever is the Christopher Nolan movie, The Prestige. Well, in theory, every time I watch it, Yamato, I won't say what the spoilers are, but I know what the fucking twists are. But when you watch it, the twist works every time because the way the movie's set up, like you're saying, it just actually because you get in that suspension of disbelief. It's like you do forget parts of it because you allow yourself to. You go with the characters step by step, and at the end, it still hits the same way. Even though I know what's coming, I've seen that movie 1 million fucking times. So no, I agree with you. That's why it's mad rewatchable. I always tell people as well. This is another reason why you might not like Seinfeld. Don't download season 1 or watch the pilot. Those are the worst ones. Literally pick a random one in the latter 3 seasons because it doesn't matter, by the way. There's no coherent. There is sort of, but it's not like an episodic. It's one where each episode's its own show. Just pick up and even go and do one of those things. You know where you go like rank lists of best episode. Look up the best episode and watch that one. And then if you don't like it, don't worry about it. Look, you won't know all the references we're making, but also, by the way, anyone who likes that show, it's like the fucking Bible, but it's got every reference ever in. Like, we all know every episode, all the crazy shit before, and we've also answered many Q&As to do with that. There'll be a Q&A at the end of this episode. People maybe ask us our most unusual or our fucking personal favourite episode. Just ask something like that. Maybe we'll answer it. Right, let's move on. Let's talk. I don't think the LPL one needs to be that much this week, mate. I'll tell you what the biggest thing, first of all, is even though supposedly they are sorting it out, like what's bizarre is in BLG, they're sort of doing both apparently. Like maybe Bin is back, we'll see, and then maybe Flandre ends up getting signed. They might have, but at the same time, even when they've played with the Wenbo guy, here's what's bizarre: they still win all the games. It just doesn't matter somehow. Like what's bizarre is, unfortunately, I did it on the LCK where I bigged it up. I've got to say, the LPL isn't that everyone's just awesome. Mate, the LPL is just, BLG's just really too good. And then actually a lot of the other teams are sort of fucking shit right now, mate. Like they've really come off from where they were last split. Like if I go and look, it's actually the smaller teams like your Team WEs that are performing well. It's not even the big dogs. Like JDG looks scuffed at times, mate. I can never know where TES is at because then they've also done that support change, like we say. What is your take on the LPL right now?
No, it's I think it's like in terms of how the off-season treated things, it's like it really took the wind out of the sails. Like Weibo's year has been a complete mess. I've lost hope in them completely, especially with the departure of JJ now. It's like, what have you done? Like you've just like how bad is this team ran to the point where you have to get rid of people? It's just such a LPL classic. And then I'm happy to see the continuation of WE. I think WE, it's like they went 1-13, but then they had the playoff run and they're continuing. I think this is like a team that we might see at the World Championship at the rate that they are playing at. I'm really happy to see that aspect of them. I think that's good to see. AL with Breathe just seems to work. They have more firepower now for top lane, and they have more avenues to play through. And I think this is something that they were missing. I think it just kind of makes sense. BOG, honestly, in terms of, I think if there was ever a, clear, everyone is always talking about like how super teams work and how when they don't work and how you need to kind of put a roster together. There seems to be an element of, I'm looking to, for example, Viper. Like Viper just looks so damn refreshed. He's like, oh, I have, weaker teammates. It's like I know
time
this.
For me to carry. I know exactly. Yeah.
Hey, yo.
How this works.
Yeah, just give me that backpack. I got the luggage in. There's no problem. It's like it's ready to go. He's fit. It's good to see. I think that everyone is like not skipping a step on the team. I think in terms of what the competition is, it's not the fiercest for BOG, but I can still see a world where this is a team where with more room to make decisions about how the roster is going to look like. Maybe this is a big benefit to them because at least the big difference in doing it in top lane in comparison to jungle, it's like jungle it changes your whole game. It's like you threw junglers into this very lane-oriented team where everyone wanted the attention, and it's like these guys that like came from TT, it's like Beishuan and Wei and whoever. It's like they were getting torn apart. It's like it's an impossible position to thrive in. And Shun was always the only person that could make the work. He was so dynamic in how he played, and still is. But now with a top laner, like, what does Wembo do? He just offers stability, and then it allows the plan to kind of enact itself, and that's good for BOG. In terms of what their high end is, it's like, still, if we look ahead, it's like, is BOG a potential contender to win the World Championship? I would need to see more from the top lane situation, because that's going to be a concern. They play against Zeus, or they play against Keen. Like, these guys are going to be tough to break with someone that is inexperienced. We still don't know what they're doing with Flandre or Bin or whatever. So there's still time ahead. But I think they're doing as good as they can with Wembo right now, and I think that's great. For the rest of the LPL, they need to show some more. Like top esports, I don't know. Tian hasn't come back. That's a bit messy, and the whole support situation. I have no idea how Zhu ended up on this team, brother. What are we doing? Like, LPL is so unprofessional.
Well, there needs to be, you know, in the Wild West where they had those posters like wanted, dangerous. They need to have them for like Fortic and Zhu. How did they get in teams, mate? This is crazy work, in it. How is this? If people don't know, he was one of the motherfuckers that hinted Rookie a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It's criminal. Get him out the LPL. Because what I don't get is, again, if you said, like before when they bought in the Fenway, if you said something like, oh, I'm going to bring in like a Rookie, okay, I'll go that. Maybe he's good. I think I've seen enough of Zhu in the LPL, mate. I've seen enough. I've had my fill. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. I didn't even mention JDG, right? It's like, JDG. This project is not aging well, you know?
No. This is going to be one of the worst Tabe ones ever, actually. It started so well. Look, it was looking great coming into, I don't know, whatever it was, upper bracket round 2 of the spring or something. But normally we expect Tabe to be cooking by now, mate.
Yeah. It just seems like even Tabe can't change Junja and Honkyu and their way of playing, because it's also sucks for Tabe, because this is easily the worst Gala year ever.
Yep.
I've never seen Gala play this bad, especially like in spring. Things just don't seem to fall into place. It's like the only people that are really playing is Vampire and Xiaoshu. And that's top and support. It's like they don't drive the whole game. It's like Junja can just decide to lose the whole game for you at any point. That is such a scary game to play when your jungler can just be like, we're going, and you're like, what the fuck? Because that's how it is to play with Junja right now. It's just so unpredictable in the worst way possible.
And I'll say this is where the reason why the LCK banged so hard when they copied the LPL format is they've got all the best teams. Bro, that playoff playing has actually fucked the like Ascend group. Because if people don't know, look, Weibo, they're in a lot of trouble. We'll talk about it in a second. They were bad anyway, but they could still scoff the odd win. IG just didn't have the shine rookies. That's why they went down, right? But the fact that you got EDG, Thunder Talk, and who's the third one that I'm thinking of?
LGD.
Third one. LGD, yes, sorry. Actually, LGD is the one I should remember because it's the one with all the random names. The fact that they're in the Ascend group, it feels like the old LPL, bro. Because now you get games where it's like, I'm playing Thunder Talk. I'm sorry, listen, well played in the plane. I'll never hate on you. I hate on the teams that lost to you. But the problem is that those were one-offs. But you're not actually top teams, unfortunately. So this is one of the only times ever the LPL Ascend group has been like a bit scoffed, actually, because now you have this is why I say it's like the old LPL. You have a week where someone just plays 2 of the bad teams. If I played Thunder Talk and LGD, how do I know how good you are, bro? The problem before is, even if it was bad, if I saw you play against like a scoffed TS and Weibo, I know those players, man. That's still like Zhao. That's still like fucking Breathe. So there's still like some top Jackie Love. There's still some cracked out players. At the moment, the bottom end of that group is fucking dire, bro. Like, again, I actually expect, I'm sorry, IG especially is just going to walk through that plane and get straight back for next year into the real group or whatever. Like, that's over. Like, what are we talking about? They're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to make it to the World Championship, Thorin. Come on now.
Listen, I know. You got to believe, haven't you? You got to believe, mate. Come on. You do. You have to.
Just follow up on EDG. And everyone knows the story of what happened with JJ and EDG, how they ended their like whole run, and they had to bring in Uzi because apparently Leave made like Weibo accounts, fake ones, to flame his jungler, and now they're reunited. JJ is back on EDG, and they're gonna be playing together again. And honestly, EDG is a team that is intriguing to me. You know, I think this is if any team out of like the newcomers, maybe EDG now with JJ in the mix, with Leave in a more AD centered meta, maybe they can do some damage. Maybe that can be like the wild card if anybody.
I know what you mean, because actually I do feel like JJ is the forgotten jungler of the LPL, because he wasn't for enough years on a team that was consistently making all the finals and winning. He actually hasn't got that many championships compared to a lot of people. But if you look, here's the thing. Even when, for example, like he's been in the scuffed IG, he's been all over the fucking world at this point in time. It's clear to me, even though he hasn't had an amazing career resume, he's just a good player, mate. Like, there's very few times I actually ever watched it and went, oh, he just sucks at jungle now. Often I would go, I don't know about this synergy, or maybe he doesn't fit this playing style. But I'm with you. I can actually see why he's like the guy that everyone, he's like rent a jungler. As soon as your jungler's a bit scuffed in the fucking spring or summer, you just pull up that phone, 1-800 guy, finals MVP 2021, and fucking JJ picks up. Yep, I'll be right there in 10 minutes. Yep, because you're right. Like, that's one of those players where surely that's one where it's like, bro, that drama is so many years ago now. I think that's actually from, was it even 2023?
I think it was 23. It was like when LNG won the regional qualifier, right? When LNG won the regional qualifier. I think Uzi was playing in that one. I think it was that one, yeah. Because that was like
that's so many years ago. I'm with you. If I'm leave, mate, on that one, I'm like, you know what, JJ, we had our beef, but who gives a shit, mate? You know what? Welcome back. I'm going to make on my real account, welcome back, JJ. Like, I might have flamed you back then, based. That is low-key mad based. If you don't know, I'll give you an analogy. I don't know if you know this, but Kevin Durant has done this numerous times. Yeah. Because here's the problem. Kevin Durant admits he smokes weed a lot when he's at home. So he's done that thing where he just didn't log out of one account. So he had one that's really embarrassing, bro. He had one where like he posted a comment on like his real account where he should have been logged in on a fan account. And it was like, you know, everyone's saying KD sucked in this team, but it's his teammates. And then on the same account that he forgot to log out of, it was his account, he just replies like, yeah, go off, King. Like, they don't know what I'm built like. It's like, bro, it's just you. It's on the KD account. You know what it's like? You were trying to post a fake fan opinion and then reply to it. You've just put it on because he's probably just like, oh, it's hilarious. And then enter, and then later on, his boys called him like, "What have you done, kid? What do you mean?" I was on my thick. Oh shit, I wasn't. Like, that's outrageous. No, the idea Leave's doing that is outrageous, isn't it? But at this point in time, mate, Leave is in elo hell. He needs all the help he can get. And actually, right now, I'll tell you what, jungles. If you're an ADC, jungle's always been the helper, hasn't it? It's always the one that can get your lane ahead, can stop them fucking diving you 24/7. Because actually, you're right. Of the teams that came up, the best one clearly on paper is going to be EDG. They could at least win games. I think the Thunder Talk one, mate. I do know how they're there because there was a lot of teams shit the bed, but that's not a good team, mate. I'm sorry, it just isn't. Those names aren't even good. Those very few of them will ever play for a top team ever in their career again. Some of them never did in the first place. So I'm with it. That's why I say we don't have to do too much on the LPL. It says it all that Wenbo hasn't even particularly shined, but BLG still wins all the time anyway. It doesn't even matter. And I'm with you. Here's the way, actually, for them, it's good that there's so many weeks because we'll figure out the top lane situation. We'll get one of these other boys in that's actually a fucking legendary player. We'll figure out what the combo is. And actually, while LCK are all fighting each other to the death over there, we're just going to walk into the World Championship and we'll see you at Worlds. We'll see what the meta is then, mate. And I'll tell you what, if we actually end up winning Worlds, who gives a fuck about MSI and EWC at that point in time? We'll just take the World Championship, mate. Some of us have already got the MSI back in the day, you know. Right. Anyway, that is an appropriate moment to do the other poly market. Because I thought, in light of how crazy LCK is, and like the fact no one knows who the top lane of BLG will be at Worlds, I mean, let's throw it in there. KC's playing great. G2's got perks. Mate, everything's up for sale right now. So right now, there is actually a very interesting one, which goes like this. Listen carefully. This is not who will win Worlds. This is not who will be the number one team, who will be it is at the end of the year, they have the LOL power rankings, the global power rankings. The question is just at the end of the year, December, who will be power ranked number one? Now, let's be real. That will probably be the winner of Worlds. So it is sort of asking who will win Worlds. Point now is this, Yamato. The question who will win Worlds, I don't think there's ever been in League of Legends where that question is more up in the air. Because if I send this BLG tomorrow with Wenbo, in English, we call that squeaky bomb time, mate. I'd be a bit nervous about him going head-to-head with Zeus, Keen. Some of these boys are just going to clap, aren't they? At the same time, maybe they bring in Frandre and now Viper carries. Maybe Bin comes back and he's fucking smacking everyone on jacks. Like, that one could go anyway. So I've got to say right now, I want it to be BLG. They are number one at 31%, but Fucking hell. I mean, I would actually say if you really believe in, like, again, crazy ones like T1 or Gen G, there's a world they can get it together. It's so far away. The meta's going to be so different. It could happen. So as of right now, I know it's an impossible question. That's our job to answer these. Who wins Worlds as of right now, which I assume will be who ends up on top of that. So who at the end of the year is top of the power rankings for Yamato?
Jesus
This is pure
Christ.
faith for me. Come on. Faith.
We were talking about who's going to win the LCK, and now we're talking about
I
who's going to win
I know. Because here's the thing again, if you have the balls to call T1 and they actually do it, this might be the greatest call of all time. It's just, again, do you believe it? I don't know.
Honestly, I'm just going to, like, I generally felt walking away from MSI that BOG is the best team in the world. I think draft is so damn important and all that jazz, but I feel like if I compare, because there's only 4 teams I think that can win, and that can be at the top, and those are the 4 teams that are currently at the top. We have Gen G, T1, HLE, and BOG.
Yes.
And I compare them in through the lens of who is their flaws. Somehow, even with all the drama that BOG have, I feel like somehow you can deal with that. I think the fact that you have 4 players that are still so insanely solid. All these other teams have like 2, 3 players that are currently very flawed. So off of that, this year I am just a strong believer in BOG. I'm a strong believer in Knight, Viper, Shun and On, to me, best jungle support duo. I think that meta is going to keep going. And even if somehow it shifts heavier into ADCs, you got Viper. It's like you're never going to have problems. You're never going to have problems. Jungle and support will remain to be the most important thing throughout the entire year. Champions might change. And you have Knight and Viper, the most flexible players of all time in their positions.
No, this is why I'm actually with you. I know it sounds stubborn because if they actually send Wenbo, I think that would be like a fucking reach to say they're going to win Worlds. But I actually just think they're just doing this now to figure out what they want to do. Do they want Bin to come back? Do they want to sign for, I think they're just figuring that shit. So I think whichever one they go with, I'm with you. I take BLG because actually, so far, this is literally my dream for Viper. The first thing I thought when I saw the Wenbo guy come in is, surely the immediate thing you do is just pivot to Viper and say, right, it's time to put the carry pants on, mate. And as you pointed out earlier, he's done that throughout his career. And already it looks good. And he already had the majors anyway. So actually, if anything, that's why I told people last year, when your players like Viper and Ruler, you can't count them out, mate. Like, they can have 2 bad months and suddenly have 1 good month and you'll forget all about it. And if that 1 good month's going to MSI or Worlds, you'll think they're the best in the world again. You'll just think, wow, that's the guy I remember from years and years ago. Because they are those people who only have occasional slumps in general. Shout out to Ruler, though. He's fucking still sending it in the LCK right now. But I agree with the Viper one. Actually, he had a good game the other day that looked like he was back to his best, mate. He had one where it's like, right, I guess the real Viper is back in the server. And actually, you know what? In the same way as in past years, Chovy had to hard carry and Knight was mega when he was on the scuff teams, but then Chovy had the super team and he was mega on that. Bro, this is Knight's year. Like, I know he didn't get to win MSI, but I think he was unbelievable at that one. And he just smurfs he is actually having one of the best mid lane years I've ever seen. It's why there was a Hot Take Point Mid League episode where Kira, who's obviously a big LPL fan, said this might actually be like the biggest like mid lane year ever, but just because he hasn't won everything, no one's going to credit it. And because he's Chinese, no one's going to think it was up there with Faker and Chovy and Showmaker and whoever you want to be the greatest year in the past for mid lane. Because I can't argue against him. You just look game to game only at mid lane. Light is unfucking believable. And as you say, he always in his whole career had a crazy champion pool. I actually think Loki, he's another person like CV Max. They did him a favor, make him fearless. He was the guy who would just sometimes play like 2 games of Azir or Orianna in a series where it's like, bro, you have like 9 other champs you play. Whereas you put him in the fearless, good luck getting him into a matchup he can't play, mate. He's got unbelievable champion pool depth. So yeah, I'm with you. I actually still think it can be BLG. So I'll just say whoever they end, because I don't think it'll be Wembo. Whoever they end up putting in, I think they adapt to it, and I'm at least I'm here for it. And if I lose, you know what? I prefer to go out on my shield, mate. And I think this is Knight's year. I think this is the one where he gets it. And I've always said this. It's never happened so far. One thing, we've had LPL teams that have won Worlds. They all had a Korean mid laner, usually a legendary Korean mid laner. If a Chinese mid laner wins Worlds, that is the thing I've been waiting for the whole time. I've watched great players. I've seen Zhao Hu. I've seen Cool. I've seen some fucking really good players come through the LPL. There's never been that guy, though, and this guy's the chosen one. It's why I even knew, even though it's a mad detail, when I saw that he's left-handed and they already, as a kid, were calling him the golden left hand. Bro, this is like This is fucking like Naruto or something. This is like some pure animation. Of course he has to be the one to win, bro. Of course the golden left hand is there's gonna have to be an image like this, Yamato, of a left hand lifting up a fucking world's trophy in it, that massive fucking trophy. Like, it's gonna have to happen eventually, bro. It's just too good, isn't it? It's too fucking good. It's too good, bro. And it's going to have to be that thing. You know, there's that cool angle. If people don't know this, it's actually a detail. This is how I know people aren't good in sports at doing anime angles. People probably don't even know this who are modern day fans. Messi is a left-footed player. Ronaldo's a right-footed player. They're both also unbelievable with the other foot. So the joke is, if you wanted to make the best player ever, you'd take Messi's left foot and Ronaldo's right foot, and you'd have it, wouldn't you? You could just do that right now. Wouldn't it be Chovi's right hand and Knight's left hand? That'd be the fucking most cracked out of all. It's actually, it's right there, bro. The whole fucking the anime storyline is just laid right there. It's too weird. So I'm doing the Arctic BLG. Fuck it. LCK at the moment are also just killing each other, and the joke could be maybe like Hanwha or Gen G just didn't get to go to Worlds. Maybe Knight, after all that struggle, all those years carrying, he arrives at the Worlds final. Oh, phew. I've been here before. It's time to win. D plus. Maybe that's what you have to. Maybe that's who he's playing now to win Worlds, bro. Like, listen, the gods are kind. I think this is his year. I think the gods want him to win, bro. There you go. They want him to win. They want him to. Right. Let us switch it up and talk a little bit about our home region. So over in EMEA, just like I said about D plus, tell you who else is carrying the EWC storylines, mate. It's got to be KC. After all the shenanigans, after all this bullshit about Reaper is doing the draft, or isn't he doing the draft, or should he do the draft, or does it make sense to? After all the shit of the fucking G2 storyline, actually, at the moment, if you are a KC fan, has it ever looked as good as this, mate? Right now, the Kiahu guy's proven himself. Everyone else in the team's getting their shit together. Kalist is having Smurf series after Smurf series. They're winning all the matches they play. If you are a KC believer, and there's obviously a lot of them out there, I think you are eating good, bro. I mean, you had such a nightmarish time where you were so close. I always tell people this. People say G2 wins every split. Those last couple were really close, boys. Like, those ones, they could have won those game fives. And if I'm people like the KC players, those are the ones you wake up in a sweat at night. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, I should have ulted there. KC right now, I know it's early days, but we have to do this. This is the point of talk shows. You have to go week by week. We can't look a month forwards. If the finals happened today, KC would win the LEC. Agree?
I agreed. Yeah. I think the main thing in terms of the evolution of KC is, as you mentioned, like Yahoo, just looking better than ever. He's currently looking like the best mid laner in the league. I would say so, because Caps is just not in good form. No. I think that's always the underlying question, right? It's like, will G2 win? It depends on Caps' form. I think also in terms of like putting all the pieces together about what Perk said in the interview, and like the fact that they felt the need to make such a drastic change speaks to the fact that they had drastic issues. I don't think that G2 just does something like that on the whim, because that's the additional layer of that conversation where people compare Perks versus Dylan. They were in a position where they had basically their just red alarms just shining, and they felt the need to make some drastic change. And that's also something that Perks mentioned, that internally, in terms of how they scrimmed and how they practiced, that it was a very, very toxic environment. And then you have the additional details of how, for example, I mentioned this many times, but it's like how Skumon reacts on stage, and we see it in the voice comes too, and it becomes kind of a question mark. Is like, how deep are the issues that G2 kind of are dealing with? Because we've seen them win, but the issues, we've got such a inside look on what's going on, and the question now is, it's not a question of will G2, blaming Perks if G2 don't like fix them. But the main question here is like, will G2 actually be able to overcome whatever the problem they're dealing with? And will they be able to kind of reach new highs? Because I'm looking at it through that lens. And now Caps is not performing. The team has some things to figure out. They're for sure going to be really, really dangerous. But KC, a lot of things for them are falling into place. The team fighting still as good as ever. And I think if there's one flaw to KC is that I think that Yike, in terms of how he is as a player, I think he's insanely good against players that are worse than him. But I think that when he's playing against players that are on par or even better, I think that he becomes very, very destructive in the game. And I think that's the only danger that I see for KC so far. Because even when they made their EWC run, Yike was the player I was the least impressed with on the team in terms of his overall impact. And I think the jungle as a role requires you to be so precise, and the responsibility that you carry in this year is probably greater than ever because of how extensive level 1 plans are, in terms of how supports can screw you over, in terms of how snowbally it can be, in terms of, oh, you lose a one raptor camp and then they are have an advantage of you on crab and they have smite advantage, and then suddenly with that level 6 swing they invade you on your respawns of buffs, and then suddenly the whole game just collapses off of one mistake. I think the best example was, of course, when we saw in first stand where Skumond outplayed Canyon, and he played better than Canyon. And then we got into the finals, and then Shun outplayed Skumond, and suddenly he just looked so small because of how brutal jungle is. And I think if we look down ahead, the main question will be, which is the main storyline of G2, is how good can Skumond be? Because they have built this team kind of in many ways around him rather than Caps, where he was at the forefront of their victories outside of Caps, like insane clutch moments. But he was the core idea where Caps in a final says, you know what, I'm picking Annie, and you are going to be the one who carries the goddamn torch here. And I think that stylistic kind of clash is going to be the most intriguing to me, because if they can figure out a way to get out of this rut, and Perks figures it out, and Skumond is once again by far the best jungler in the league, I think they can still win out. But currently, everything looks good for KC. It looks like they're going to have a perfect split. Who's going to stop him? I think there's going to be a perfect split for them.
No, here's the thing as well. People have to forget, in LEC, it was international play they scoffed before EWC, like MSI player. They were always good in LEC. It's just not everything came online at once, and they were losing really, really close games to G2. If you saw that G2 game they played, it was like over a week ago now. That was a fucking banger game, man. That was just really good, and they came out on top. Like, actually, you know what? Kia was better than Caps. Yeah, Cannon was better than fucking BB. I'm sorry, I know this doesn't normally happen in the fucking playoffs, but Hansama wasn't as good as Kalist. I saw there was a thing on Twitter the other day where people did that thing that I find really boring. Fans like to do this thing, Yamato, where they just pick whichever one benefits their player in the moment. So I'll give you an example. If Kalist's better than Hansama today, you just go, yeah, but Hansama's better historically. And then if Kalist had like an amazing split behind Hansama beats him, you go, what about today? And you just pick whichever one you want to suit your player. So I saw there was some French guy who got wrecked, even though he's talking about 2 French players here, because he dared to suggest that like the biggest talent in the LEC is like Kalist and then Skumon second. And everyone was like, hey, but look at all Skumon's titles and look at all. It's like, he means right now though, bro. If you're watching the games right now, I get what he means. This is actually a little slump for Skumon. In fact, I want to touch on this because I agree, by the way, Casey's looking mega. But the funny thing is, the biggest weakness probably still Yike. And if Skumon gets his shit together, that's the way back in if you're G2, isn't it? Because if we talk about G2, let's run down this a second. And I know we've done this many splits. They've had a lot of splits that they started dodgy. But here's the difference. They didn't used to join us, bro. They were on the train of, who gives a shit about the first few weeks? You know what? We came back for international. We're still going to be there. Mate, this is what's worrying me. It's what's coming out of the G2 camp. Because that mixed with the performances is crazy. Like, first of all, I'm sorry, Broken Blade got his head cracked in that fucking series. And right now, what was that comment he was making? Oh, I think that the calendar's just too many tournaments and we're all burned out, right? We can get to that in a second. I've got a whole theory on that because I've always had a theory about LNC team houses compared to Counter-Strike Circuit, where you go home and you get the sort of breather and you get to revitalize yourself. Then the aforementioned Skumond, after that dodgy ass series, it was the SK one, where if people don't know, I called this like a few weeks ago. This is a new SK, mate. This isn't the one with leader anymore. Like, this SK could have beaten G2 in that series. They were really good. G2 looked vulnerable, and they just got it over the line with veteran players. Like, if I'm watching Skumon there, mate, Skumon, even on the player cams, looks in bad shape. And supposedly, I think someone said on Cadrill's stream, he said he's really tired. So it sounds like, by the way, think about what they're communicating. Not only have they done this massive coaching gamble, to me, that gamble's twofold. Yes, it's the idea of the romance of Perks. No, it's also, that says to me, this, Yamato, that they didn't think Dylan Falco's system was going to get him out of the ditch. Like, whatever was wrong. However, I imagine Dylan's a really, studious, systematic guy. I think they just thought that ain't going to do it this time, mate. Like, that isn't what we're feeling right now. Caps himself, he's had some fucking dodgy ass games. He got gapped by Yahoo at times in that game. You would have never believed game pits off. That was cap. That was craps. That was the old fucking meme from back in the day. It's one of the worst series he's played in a while. So if I'm looking at it, and more importantly, listening to what's coming out of their camp, it's almost implied in their camp, like, we're burned out as a team. We're overworked. Like, things are going to shit. And I'm sorry, that implies to me, with the perks thing, that includes scrims. That includes, like, not officials. It's not just that you lost a big game to KC. You're allowed to do that. I'm with you. They're actually having one of the better splits I've seen in a long, many, many, many years, especially for not all super famous names. So what do you think on the G2 angle? Like, are they in trouble?
I feel like they are in trouble because they have said that they are. You know, honestly, like, if it wasn't for any of the interviews, I wouldn't care. I honestly wouldn't care. I would just say they're gonna get their shit together. That's what we praise them for, you know. Like, we go off of what we see, and if a team can just clutch it out and make it all the way, and they have that magic behind them, and you're winning, you figure that everything is going just right. But it doesn't seem to be the case, and I think that's the main cause for concern. It's like, you had the advantage that you, of course, are now together for your second year, and with many aspects even way longer than that. That advantage seems to be a disadvantage now. And KC is working together now for the first year, and I do think that you need some luck along the way. You know, you need to kind of do all that work, and you need kind of the pressure valve to be like, ooh, this is like rewarding. Because that EWC run was very important to reinforce all the things that they were doing, because I've seen teams where you reach that high and then you lose a game 5, and then it can drain you completely because you have to start over again. And then you have something linger in the back of your mind. It's like, is it worth it? It's like, are we good enough? And those thoughts can easily plague you. I can give an example of, for example, C9 last year. It's like they had that insane finals against FlyQuest, game 5, and then they didn't make MSI because obviously the system was that there was only one NA team, one Brazil team, and then there was a long distance, and then came Summer Split, and then the playoffs, and if you are in that moment in your best form, you couldn't push it over the finish line. That is something that can haunt you coming into things. And I think from Casey's position, as the dynamic has now, they've had so many positive moments to build on. EWC, and now having that 3-0 weekend in front of the French crowd, like, I think that builds a lot of strong character for the team. So in terms of G2's biggest advantage, might be a disadvantage now, and the fact that this team is fresh and building a very, very solid foundation for their collective experience, that can be like their biggest advantage now, because now with the results, it's very easy as KC to psychologically put yourself in a place where you can beat G2 in summer. You can tell yourself why it's going to be different. You can easily paint that path and easily put yourself in the mind where that will actually happen with everything that you're getting from the G2 camp and the experiences that you went through. Because EWC, they could have lost to Team Secret Wales. They could have lost right there. And then maybe they wouldn't have built that momentum. But in terms of the tribalness of competition, I think that the tribe seems very strong for KC right now.
And I'll say this, if you are G2, you're also caught a break, because actually, you're probably still the second best team. I'd still put some stock in that KC match. I actually think SK has just improved. I know people see on paper SK and they think, oh, fucking Ocelot and shit, a million years. They're actually not too bad now. They're sort of like, they've gradually heated the roster up and it's gotten better and better, and they've replaced the middler in the right way, and they've got some decent shit going for them. So the obvious question right now, it's a hard one, is if I say KC's number one, I think they're number one by a lot. If I put G2 for now, number 2, who the fuck is the third best team? I think that's a hard question, mate. Go on. Because right now, at the moment, we haven't seen the games to really know it, right? So who would you put your money on? Who's the third best team of the LEC?
You know, I know the MCOY, they had that loss against Vitality, but you know, even though I think that MCOY has gotten a lot worse and created a greater distance between themselves and the top 2, because there is no top 3 now. Like there's a top 3 in the sense that we need to have someone on third place, but they're not in the same conversation as KC and G2 at all. I still think MCOY, regardless of that loss against Vitality, I think against the field, I think it's hard to. It's easy to be down on them because there were times where I thought that they could be better than KC. There were times where I thought they could even beat G2 with what they were offering. But I will not think about that any longer, and I will never even speculate that no matter how good they are in a regular split. But still, I think that, you know, with the other teams having roster changes and like it's just so hard for me to believe in a vitality that comes into a playoffs match. Like I thought maybe Fnatic could do something with Subaru now and Lospa getting slowly better, but with how Vladi is playing, it's like what's happening there? GX looks worse than ever. They just downgraded. They've just straight up downgraded, and it shows in the game. So MKOI, G2 is lucky that nobody else can challenge them, and they're easily top 2, even maybe at the end even top 1. But MKOI is even luckier because everyone below them, I don't think they're good enough to challenge them. Maybe they lose the best of 3 or 2, and MKOI's position is very awkward because it's not something we talked about, but the fact that the Roadshow, for the first time ever, they decided to take a risk, which always felt like a little bit of bullshit because we had the usual suspects. Because obviously, Riot, for those who don't know, they always planned like these road shows with MKOI and KC. They always did them in the regular season, which kind of felt, you know, it felt cool, but it wasn't cool enough because we didn't get it on a final or a playoff match where if we had the KC G2 best of 5 in front of the KC crowd, it would have been amazing, but it's impossible to plan logistically because it comes at a great risk. And the MKOI Roadshow, the Madrid Roadshow, is the first round of playoffs, and the first round of playoffs is, of course, the top 4 teams that start at the upper bracket. And MKOI right now, with their scoreline, if they lose one and suddenly 5 and 4, then it looks, you know, there's a big chance they don't make their own roadshow, which would be the most just bizarre thing ever.
No, the craziest thing is, like, if you're MKOI, like, mate, you pulled that one against Shifters out of the fire. You were for the taking in that one as well. So I'm with you. If anything, they are just lucky, a bit like G2 themselves, that there's just not a lot of people nipping at your heels. Like at the moment, there is no middle of the table. That's just almost everyone. Like the middle of the table is just, let's see what we, because I'm with you. You can make cases for all these other teams. Like actually, I do like the support change in Shifters. You know what? When I look at Fnatic, I sort of go, okay, look, I don't know how long Vladdy's going to stick around. It seems like maybe his head's not in the game, but actually the first game, the Saboro guy played, he looked fucking good, mate. It looked like the usual. This is why people import players that look scuffed in the LPL and the LCK, because sometimes they're Smurfs in the West. That's a real thing. So I think you look at the league, GX, by the way, this is a perfect example where on paper, the names are upgraded. That was a downgrade on both positions. It was. Lot was actually coming into his own. He gradually improved over the years. And I'm sorry, you actually go and look. People know I've had personal issues with Noah. That was a good bot lane, though. That bot lane worked together. Like, this is one where it's like your brain just told you, but Oscaridin went to Worlds and beat Canna. Hey, but remember, Flackhead is a champion from G2. That's like, that narrative doesn't work anymore, mate. He's not a hard carry, though, is he? Like,
it's LPL gaming right here.
It is. It's like some Weibo gaming shit where it's like all the names make sense, but not right now and not together and not in this team. You know, it's like you took all the wrong pieces. This is like you took Ringo Starr from the Beatles and then some fucking guy from Rolling Stones out, and in the end it's like got all these players. Yeah, but where's Mick Jagger? Where's fucking John Lennon? Like, where's the guy going to carry? Because I've got to say, yeah, if I'm looking at some of these teams, it's like who's going to fucking carry? Who's the actual bus driver, as Charles Barkley says? So I'm with you. Like if I'm MKOI, man alive, you have picked the best time ever to have still a scuffed roster, but you're probably going to get to be third. I'm with you though. It would be mega embarrassing if they don't get to go their own fucking road show. Like, because I assume here, you know what? I know about the industry, Yamato, so I'm just going to go ahead and make a prediction of like, remember that TL Super team where they had the $2 million Bjergsen and the $7 million roster, and they had all these massive names, and famously, it was a massive egg on Steve Arhanset's face because supposedly he'd already sold all the fucking deliverables for like Worlds or something crazy and they never got there. Shit. And so I'm going to go ahead and predict that even if they don't qualify, Yamato, they'll have to go to that homestand and probably do all like fan signing and be there just as like, you know, maybe even play like a show match or something, because how could you not? There's no way you build that whole thing and spend like $1 million or something and then just have them at home like, hey, I'm watching on Twitch TV. You're going to go, you'll probably have to go anyway for the sake of it. it, right? I mean, every fan's going to want to meet El Yoya, and they're going to want to get fucking a picture with Alvaro and whatever else, and meet Melzet and hear what he said. So I'm with you. The biggest thing on their faith would be somehow if they just lose. Because let's be real, as I say about the mid-table, it's not that I think these teams should be better than you, but Man Alive is dangerous every week. Like, you get the wrong meta against Navi, they could get you. You get, as we said, but maybe someone like your GX isn't that good. Maybe Fnac's a bit scuffed, but you know what? Maybe they can fluke a 3-game series, because at the moment, that's another thing about MCOY, that I guarantee they're going to play a lot of game 3s. This is a team that it's going to be hard for them to win 2 games in a row against a lot of teams in the league, bro.
And it could be even worse than that if they don't make it, because it's like, you go through, I look at the posts, and like I translate the Spanish posts, and the Spanish fans are very angry at the team, like very, very angry at the team. And they are very harsh towards like Midwin and then Super at times. And like I could see the world where, like, if they don't make it to the roadshow, that it's just going to be empty. Like, I could easily see that happening
That's crazy if that happens.
And with the margins that they are operating with under, like if there's a world where it's just empty and tickets aren't sold and people just don't show up, like that could be devastating. That could be so
I can tell you, if you're balancing out the margins, you're already planning like, right, we're going to sell 20k of jerseys. We're going to have this many ticket sales. We're going to, again, if you ever get the scenario where half as many people go, no one gives a shit, and it's not an MCOY event in that sense. You're right. That could actually, for real, like, that might be next year. You don't have a roadshow. The higher ups just go, the margins don't make sense. I'm sorry, we can't do this. And then it's just KC roadshows, or maybe a G2 does one finally and they get the chance to do it. Because I'm with you. You could actually argue this one split, the future of MCOY, the org, maybe relies on this and revolves around it. Because remember, they've already made the promise, and you're right about the fans. I'll give one piece of credit to KC and MCOY fans. I think they are horrible to other people on the internet. But you know what? Fair enough. They don't just lie and say their own players are awesome, though. They remind me of like Manchester United fans. They go harsh as fuck on their own players if the players are bad, mate. They do think that the team should win. And if you see a player who does badly, certainly it's a little bit more if you're not the Spanish or the French players. So there's a bit of that. But even so, they go hard as fuck on them too. Like, I can tell you right now, Merwin and Super are as Spanish as they come, and they're getting some fucking work on Twitter too, mate. Like, because people want these guys fucking kicked out of the league, like, and put in prison or something. It's outrageous, isn't it? So there's some massive pressure on these guys. And also, if you are Melzet and Giorgio, you better cook these next few weeks, mate. You better go actually crazy and play out your minds, because you're right. Like, you can install make worlds, but the humiliation of not being at that tournament as a team playing would be massive. And you're right, that was never a case in the past, because every other homestand was designed for you. It was the last week and you played all your big games. It was week 2 and you played. That meant it couldn't go wrong. This is one of the few ones where, even though on paper it made sense why you'd do it, you figure it'll all be top 3. I agree with you. There is no top 3. There's top 2. Even then, G2 could make that. Could make it just top 1 is the joke, but there's no third team. It's just at the moment you're third. At the moment. And the at the moment's carrying a lot there. Now, here's the thing, Yamato. As someone who likes the LEC, I want it to have 3 really strong teams. So I don't like the sound of that. But I do like the sound of our next sponsor, Raycon, which is obviously sponsoring this piece. Because with the Raycon Essential Open Earbuds, one of the best things is I like to use earbuds at the gym, unsurprisingly. And I'll tell you what, there's ever anywhere you don't want to get surprised or not hear someone coming and bump into them, it would probably be when you're carrying a massive, like, 20-kilogram weight like that, or you're picking up big dumbbells. The last thing you ever want to do, I'll tell you right now, here's a random piece of advice when I see people doing gym videos. When you see the power lifter drop the weight like that, boom, that's because if you ever look, no one's near there. He himself has made sure it's in front of him when he drops it and it can't land anywhere. I've seen so many people at the gym, bro, drop those big dumbbells at the end of like a set like that and let it, because you know the floor's all squishy and bouncy, and bounce and roll. Mate, if one of them ever rolls over your toes, you are cooked if that's like a fucking 10-kilogram weight. You're going to be, I know it doesn't look much, but that will hurt. And if that ever like, not, if, I mean, if you've ever been to the gym, you've had this. If you ever even have it roll into your shin, that hurts. That is actually bad. So if there's anywhere I want to put on the active, the open aspect where it just sits outside your ear, but I can still hear sound as well as all the music, that's perfect, mate. There's no way I'm going, never gonna give you up, never gonna, sorry, I just bumped into you there. Oh, Josh, shit. Oh. Tell you what, that's a Rickroll I don't want to get. So anyway, don't get Rickrolled. Just enjoy Rick Astley's music in a responsible manner and podcasts like Summoning Insight, and get yourself some Raycon Essential earbuds. They're actually really lightweight. The ear hook can rotate so they stay in. You can wear them on your walks around. You can be cooking. You can do some gym stuff around the house. They won't fall out. They don't get uncomfortable. They have over 3 million customers. The sound quality is good. There's plenty of expensive brands that actually they're comparable to. And if you don't like them, you know what? 30-day guarantee. So why not get yourself some of these wonderful earbuds? They are the perfect back-to-school companion. Obviously, the kids will be going back soon. Go to buyraycon.com/LFN Open, all one word, to get 20% off, a fifth of the price. Fifth off the price. Thanks to Raycon for sponsoring us. That's buyraycon.com/LFN Open to get 20% off. Right. Here's the thing, Yamato. At the end, in general, I'll be real. I'm back to not really giving that much of a fuck about LCS, bro. Like, the real problem at the moment is the best player in the league doesn't give a fuck. He's just chilling in fucking Poland watching the games, and they're still winning some of them. So I'm sorry, until Inspired comes back, I can't really know what the LCS is right now. Like, Cloud9's got the new roster. And you tell you what, Team Liquid looks fucking good. There's that. FlyQuest, you know what, regressed a little bit. I'm wondering about them. Actually, they weren't the team that, unlike Liquid's, built on that success of last. FlyQuest hasn't really. They've looked a bit scuffed themselves, and there's a little bit of problems there. What is your sense for the LCS at the moment?
Yeah, I think right now, Team Liquid looks good for sure. Like from our perspective, right? Like I'm coaching C9, so it's like for us, like if I assess things honestly, the big match will be, of course, against FlyQuest. I agree that they play worse than before. I think always there's a lot of risk to their play. They kind of like they remind me of a D+ at infancy stage. You know, if I think of back to the D+ when this roster was kind of formed with Sue and Lucid in the beginning of that, in terms of like, oh, they have some, you know, moments that look very good and they have like the highlight reel, but in terms of the foundation of the team, there is a clear lack of consistency there. I think that Team Liquid and Lion, ever since the internationals, just look better and better. Even now, Lion without Inspired, the other players are picking up the slack and they are doing a great job. I think that these two teams are the teams to beat for, of course, the LCS Championship. And then I'm thinking through the lens of Worlds, I do think that right now we should be better than FlyQuest. Like, we should beat them. So that matchup is going to be like the most intriguing one, because currently I can for sure say that Lion and Team Liquid on paper are better than us.
It's why I actually have never ever lost, no matter what happened to the form of the players, drama, what happened with the mid laners in Liquid. One thing I have never lost my respect for is the coaching of Spawn, mate. You just give this guy time. Give him time. And has it ever really failed? Sure, he's always been relevant. He's always got you to the big international. I think he's just done another wonderful job. And he didn't start with the best roster. He started with an interesting roster, but you could see he's going to have to connect some pieces together. How would Quid play in this team? That wasn't really his sort of a team. Jose Diodo has been one of those guys who shot on the lesser teams. Like, almost everything's coming together for this team. Like, I'm with you. The most interesting thing is when Inspired finally comes back, the hope is Cloud9's roster's ready. Team Liquid's ready, bro. They're ready right now. Like, I'd love to see that matchup tomorrow if I could, but obviously you'd probably have to wait for the playoffs to see the one that really matters. But all of a sudden, it's not a one-team region anymore. That shit's gone. Obviously, Lions' performance internationally too even gives you a hope. Maybe there's even a ceiling of the old FlyQuest of when people thought they can go head-to-head with the international teams and you can beat the European teams. So I actually think the LCS, for all the drama of the viewership and the changing of the branding, I don't think it's ever been as strong as it is now. Isn't this like the best it's been for like 3 years or something, bro? Like, it looks like it's back in, the LCS is back.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that we were saying at the entire time, we just need Team Liquid to get their shit together. And for the longest time, they were quite uninteresting. And now, like, everyone's firing off on all cylinders. It was a sense of disappointment in that off-season that they couldn't figure out the whole River military situation, because that was like my prediction. But Jose Diodo has been the best team, and everything else is falling into place. Like, Team Liquid is reaching their potential. And the fact that there is a conversation that there is a team that could potentially beat Lion, I think that already makes things so much more interesting. When you tune into a regular season and you just know at the end of it that one team is going to win, it just feels like such a drag. And now with the Worlds at play, The additional seeds, of course, also matter, which also makes it a lot more interesting. And I guess to top it off the LCS discussion, we gotta talk about Dignitas signing Dardoch.
How can we not? If people don't know, one of my all-time favorites, because you know that, I'm sure you know this by now. I love players, a lot of them seem to play jungle, where they have the talent or if they have a special strength that really is really good, but they've got that like personality thing that just holds them back, or they've got it, you know, them all Forgiven, Self-Made. You can run down the list. I've loved them all in the history. Double Lift. This guy's definitely in that category, mate. And it's also a player where I'll tell you what, people mistake this element of it. He wasn't just a player that was good 10 years ago. I don't think he was ever bad. I think even when I saw him come back the last time, when he was just sort of playing like, remember he came back as a coach and he like played a bit. He just always can bring a level of play. And let's be real, his personality, he's going to say some fun shit on a mic. By the way, the obvious angle I'm waiting for is let's have him play against Griffin so we can have the banter. Let's have him say some shit about his old teammates in some other team. Let's have, you know what, if you want to be hilarious, have him say some shit to Dom or something. Like fucking, this guy, he has mic skills. This is some like Conor McGregor comes back, hopefully this time, not to do one kick and then just get it wrecked out immediately. I'm with you. Listen, I'm a Dardoch fan. People know that. Don't do a Lee Sinker can retire immediately, obviously. Yeah.
I just imagine.
Maybe Conor McGregor shouldn't have attempted the insect. That was the real problem, wasn't it?
I just imagine like in the first game, like obviously Dardoch is like matured, he's an older player now.
Yeah.
Talent was always there. But I just imagine like in the first game, like Riot just shows like a snippet of the comms and he just calls his teammate a slur, you know? And like, we are bringing back XU.
Bye, Diggy. I know exactly. Yeah. Bye, Diggy. There you go. I actually put that one back. I know exactly. He ints it immediately. I love it.
That would be hilarious. It's just Dardoch strikes me like the type of player that would have a similar leadership role to Inspired in the game. Dardoch strikes me as a player that would just lead and drive a game. And honestly, that's what Dignitas like. I think they just have no. There's no red line in how they play the game. It's just really random. Everything they do is so random, and they are just so that there is like everything is just. They're thinking about the next 10 seconds. But I do think that Dardoch is going to improve them. I saw the video from the GM of Dig, and the rationale was also right there. It's like he said the same thing where we lack structure, we lack consistency. We can take a game off of a team that is better than us, but we could never win a series because we're just so damn inconsistent. And they tested out for a week around Dardoch's schedule with CCG, right? And they just made the decision that the games they are playing with Dardoch just make a lot more sense, and they actually have some consistency to them, because that's something that really plagues practice too. I've always said the same thing. It's like the ceiling the ceiling and the floor of your practice is determined by how your jungle plays the game. If you have a bad jungler, your scrims become so much worse because they're inherently volatile. So if sometimes you have a jungler that just thrives in that volatility, that can also be dangerous. Like you have a jungler that goes 10-0 every damn game, and you don't get to like actually play out the mid to late game, and then when you get to the stage games, you don't have the same kind of impact there. If your jungler is not performing and he just is on the other end of that massacre, then you also don't get into the game. So in terms of the impact of your practice, it always starts and begins of your jungler, because if your practice isn't good, you can't add to these concepts that are going to build your foundation. So I like this move. I like this move a lot. I'm hyped to see Dardoch back.
And also, you know what? This is actually in the vein of what I said about the lower teams in the LCK. Listen to this roster. If you only go off nameplates, and I read these 4 names out, Dardoch, Parlofox, FBI, Igna, bro, listen, we need a time machine. That's not bad. That ain't bad. Listen, one thing I'll say about Vets is Vets can roll it back every now and then for one game. Oh, that's all I need. I don't expect you to go to Worlds. I don't think you're going to compete. But the point is, the reason why not only was it a one-team region before, but the bottom of the league was really bad. Like, I mean, by the way, even fair play to Sentinels, they're not as bad as they were at the beginning of the year. Like, the league has leveled up. That's why I say the LCS is back, mate. When it began as the LCS again, I was like, bloody hell, this is like, what? Is Lion even good? They didn't even have the top laner with the visa. It's like, actually, at the time, it looked like maybe only Cloud9's even good. So actually, suddenly, it's becoming a more interesting league. And yeah, I'll watch a Dardoch game, especially, by the way, if you ever locks in a Lee Sin. I'm there for that. I'm there all day for that. Okay, here's the thing though, Yamato. By the way, next week we will go more in depth on the LCS because they have, I think I'm correct in saying, so I'll just double check. Yes, we have the FlyQuest TL game next week. It's on Monday in a week, in however many days, on the 10th of August. And that'll be an interesting game because that is two teams that I want to see compete and potentially be one of the ones that can get a world spot. But at the end of the show now, I will say, obviously, there's Last Free Nation Premium, isn't there? And by the way, thank you to everyone who has not only signed up to Last Free Nation Premium, but more importantly, has actually picked Summoning Insight. If you don't know, when you sign up, as well as getting all the shows on on LFN ad-free on your podcast platforms, and all the extra things, the 5th player for 4-player show, you get Q&A sections for different shows, Shut Up and Scale, etc. On some shows, you get to ask a topic. By the way, if you'd signed up for Premium, no one's actually submitted a topic of Summoning Insight. We would have done a topic on this episode with your name on it at the moment, by the way. No one's done it. So if there's only one and you don't ask a stupid topic, you will be on the next episode of Summoning Insight with whatever topic you think is interesting. Maybe it's the Broken Blade burnout thing. Maybe you wanted to talk about that Navi the Rock thing of how to do simulation. Point is, we can do that in the future. Then obviously it costs $9 a month, but you can sign up for the whole year for $90, which is about $7.50 a month. It has I think a 7-day money back guarantee. Let me just double check that. Does it have that? Yes, 7-day money-back guarantee. So go to lastfreenation.com, sign up, pick Summoning Insight if that's your favourite show. Pick whatever your favourite show is, but obviously if you want to help Yamato, pick Summoning Insight and then he will get more of a percentage of that. And also, we want to do topics and we will do Q&A. And I can tell you, this is going to be the end of this episode. Shout out to everyone who watched. But we'll actually now go offline and record a little 15, 20-minute Q&A section that will be exclusively behind that paywall. Go to the Discord if you've signed up to find where you submit the topics, the questions, all the hot takes for other shows, etc. And we will answer a bunch of real life and league and esports related questions there. See you on the next episode of Summoning Insight.